Good night, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Marcia Week Show. It is Sunday, February 11th, 7 p.m. on the dot. 7 p.m. on the dot, and history is being made tonight because we are coming together here in beautiful Barbados on the Marcia Week Show. And listen, guys, we are ready next week. Next week, bright and early, we are advertising bright and early because we want a minimum of 50 cars for our opposition motorcade that is coming out. Opposition motorcade, roadside parliament, opposition motorcade. Where is it going to be? St. John, people. All eyes are on St. John. I wonder why. We were in St. John last week praying. And decided, since last week, we decided that we're going to go to St. John. We were right there at Gall Hill Community Center praying. And it's going to be the roadside parliament and the opposition motorcade. And the motorcade is starting from Westburn Mall, which is the corner of Baxter's Road and Westbury Road. That's the first location that we had our roadside parliament. Yes, that's exactly where we are going to be. We're going to start there at we are moving up at 3 o'clock, so you need to come early. We're going to have our music truck, you all, and we're starting early, and moving on. Listen, what's next? We keeping the pressure up. We're keeping the pressure on. We're keeping the pressure on. We're not letting up. We're not letting up. So motorcade, how many of you want to be part of the motorcade? Yes, we're going to send out round a Google sheet for you to register your car number if you want to make sure you get, proper parking, right? So that your car is close to where you are, etc. Yes. So that is 3 p.m. at Westburn Mall. That's our old stomping ground for our roadside parliament. And then we are going to head right up to St. John, go through all the different communities. We are going to be speaking to the opposition as we drive. You're going to hear the music. You're going to hear the speakers on the truck. They're going to be speaking to the people in the communities. The people are going to come out of their houses to see what is happening because the opposition is on the move. We are on the move. We are on the move. That is what is happening. And I wanted to do that first because we want it to be big. Listen, and one of the things we're going to do, we're going to make sure that if you don't have a car, if you don't have, we're going to carpool, which is one of the reasons we are meeting up at Westburn Mall. So we're meeting at Westburn Mall because we're going to have that carpooling happening, and we're also going to provide some transportation. We would love to be able to get a big bus. Anybody out there can help us to get a big bus? We are going down to St. John. Listen, we've got work to do in St. John. We have work to do in St. John. We're going to show the movie. We're going to have some entertainment, some talent. Listen, we even have a dance off. We have a dance off. We're going to have a dance off. We're trying to have the same MC that we had. You remember that little young man? So we have a youth program that happens right before the movie. Then the movie, and then we have our Q&A, and we have our panelists as we normally do, right? So let me officially welcome you. What do you all think? And I want to hear your comments. What do you think about the motorcade? What do you think about that idea? What do you think about the roadside parliament going to St. John? Why don't we make an outing of it? By the time you get there, they're going to have all kinds of things on sale. Like we spoke to some people in St. John, and they're going to make sure you have your fish cakes, burgers, and I think grilled fish and all kinds of food that's going to be there when we get there. All of that's going to be laid out. We have the jumping tent for the children. We have the mascot, Paw Patrol. Mr. Marshall will be back for the children. We always do a family event, right? So it's going to be a big thing right there at the Gall Hill Community Center in St. John. Yes, St. John has called for us Sunday, February 18th. The motorcade start 3 p.m. Roadside Parliament 5 p.m. Just make an evening of it. And when you get in the, just bring some snacks and thing in the car, man, and some drinks as you fill up your car with people, and you all have a good time going down the road and waving to the people. Oh Lordy, Lord, we wish we had some banners that say the opposition, the loyal opposition, and draw the people out of their homes. Yes, and let them come out, right? So let me just welcome Annette Wood. Good night, Annette. Good to have you on. Sanchez says, good night. I'm guilty of clock watching. I can't wait for the show to start. Sawabuna, yes, my friend. Raekwon, Quelly, oh my goodness, good to see you. Marvin Allen, good night to the loyal opposition. We've gotten another one out. Prayers answered. Yes, I know. Yes. James Brown. Welcome, James Brown. Tracy Barrow. Good night, Tracy. Were you at the march? The march was good. Keep it up. Yes, James Bowen. The march was fantastic. It was electrifying. Look, I got my thing. Who had this in their hand? I tell you, this is epic. Who was the one knocked in? Oh my Lord. She was saying, something happening. Na, 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 na. That was so much fun. When I saw her with this in her hand, I knew Rose Carbon did not come to play. So I have my pot cover and my spoon in honor of Rose Carbon. Yes, Rose. Listen, they were hearing it. They were hearing our voices loud and clear. Yes, they were hearing it. Marcia, my namesake, were you there, Marcia? It was amazing, electrifying. Yes. Marvin Allen, Natasha Hope. I saw Natasha yesterday. Tim Ward, it was so electrifying, Tim. Marlene Seeley, good night. Ormond Small, springtime, how are you? Good evening. Welcome. Galbiz, listen, Galbiz, you need to be in that dance-off competition up there at St. John. Yes, we have some prizes, Galbiz can dance. Galbiz was throwing down, man. Galbiz, you seem like you rub up them knees with some Benji balsam, what do you call the thing? And all kinds of ointment. But my girl lifting the legs and the shoulders, and she was going at the front of the march. I love it. Sir Alfred, I'm sorry we're talking about the march. And you're all the way in Brooklyn. But I know one day you're gonna be here. I wish you could come down for the one in St. John. Listen. The St. John one, you think you feel fire yet, and you think you feel power yet? Come down to St. John. Come on the motorcade. Oh Lord. Llewellyn Eiffel. Yes, I saw you, sir. Carrie, hey Carrie. Blessings to you, Carrie. Were you there, Carrie? Oh Lordy. Zaire, I think Carrie was there. Yes. Zaire Campbell. Welcome, loyal daughter 166. Whoa. You remember yesterday? The energy. I still feeling the energy. Yes, man. Galby's telling you to smash the like button, guys, and share the show. This is the time that you do it, right? Do that now. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. Yes, Philip C. What a pleasure it was to see Miss McLean at the march, and I heard she was carrying on in the front, right there with Rose. I hear she was right up there with Rose. She didn't have the pot cover and the spoon, but she was right there with Rose. Oh my Lord, these people, I tell you. Jacko Strawn, did you miss it, Jacko, or were you there? Zashay Yearwood. CG. CG made those placards, and I'm telling you, They were amazing, CG, and that's the good thing about what we do, gentle people. What I love about it, it's not about any one person. I didn't even get down to Caswell's union, to Unity Union, where CG and one other person, they were making the placards. I didn't even get there. We just went to pick them up and they were done. And that's the thing, that those of you who are listening, you see, you're trying to pick off leaders. It's not like that. It's not like that. Trust me. It's not that kind of thing that's happening. It's a people thing, right? It's from the people. So you could try your best. It's not going to happen. This going to continue, right? Marvin Allen, Erwin Nurse, Mr. Maximus, Mr. Maximus, man. We were using his truck yesterday. Not sure we could use his truck for the motorcade though, because I think we need more, all the speakers on top of that truck. And it might be a little too small, Mr. Maximus, but Lord, a colorful truck and your driver is a blessing. We love that driver. Thank you, Mr. Maximus. Emerson Bob. And Mr. Maximus, please call me. We have to sort out that thing, okay? We have to sort you out. Emerson Bob, Clive Osborne. Yes, man. Yes, man. Hasbro, good night. Beverly Prescott. Let me go through quickly because I did the little ad at the top, but I still have to call out my people, Joyanne, Judith Ann Clark. We have something big planned, Judith Ann. God's going to help us. Joy and Faith, YDM, Anthony Oliver, Elaine's Rivers. Oh, my Lord, we are joining in. Mystic Angel, Trevor Chase, Anthony Oliver. Wow. A man named Adrian Hines. Listen, Adrian, if you were ever out there, I know you'll be cutting up there. Yeah, listen, Adrian, you got to come down for one of these things, You have too much mouth to not be at the... No, we love Adrian. I love it. That's a good thing with our show. People are able to speak their minds, and and I've learned from Adrian as well. So it's good. It's good. Ricky Pinda, Kali B. I said Tracy Barrow already. A.E. Barkley Harris, loyal daughter, Monica Ince, Monica, Beverly Prescott. Okay. Yes. Yes, Tony Paris. Joseph Cadogan. Yes. Joseph, you were there, man. Something happening. I can't see it. Yes, Joseph Cadogan was there. I know. 1776 Freedom. Gaymel Jenkins. Nigel, a man named Nigel. Nigel, stir up the people. Nigel, we can't wait for you to come back on. But Nigel was on, and he made sure we got there. Our car was in the shop, and Nigel picked us up and got us there. Pauline, Tony Paris. Yes, yeah, I know you got moves. Yes, guys, listen. Sandra Franklin, Trevor, a man named Trevor, Bajan Eagle in the house. Yes. Oh my Lord, listen, guys. I know that if I keep Easy D, you weren't there, man. I wish you were there. Lloyd Pascal from Dominica. Oh my Lord, good to have you. Listen, one beautiful march it was. One beautiful. Good night to everybody. I can't call everybody's name, but listen, good night to everybody. The march was amazing. Richard is asking, how was the march? Can anybody just write an adjective for me inside the chat on what you thought of the march? Those of you who were there. See, I still got the pod cover. I didn't have this though, but a woman by the name of Rose Corbin came to the march. That I tell, with her pod cover and her spoon, and she created, I'm telling you, history there. Awesome. Loyal daughter said it was awesome. Yes. Hi, his Harris. Listen, I wanted to greet as many of you tonight because that is what this is all about. This opposition, it's a people. It's made up of the people, the loyal sons and daughters. Yeah, yeah, the loyal sons and daughters. It's all of us. It's our country, you know. It's our country. And people are putting up the adjectives of how the march was for them. This is our country, and we're taking back our country. Yeah, it was infectious. Yes, yes. Some people, there was somebody there with tambourine. Oh my Lord. Yes, Don, we miss you too. We miss you too. Listen, you know, one of the things that happened there, Don, you weren't there, you know, and Beverly, it's looking in the eyes of Barbadians, looking into the eyes of our fellow Barbadians. You know what I saw? I saw hope. People were hopeful. People were hopeful. I saw hope in the eyes of my fellow Barbadian citizens. And I left feeling hopeful too. You know, I left feeling hopeful. There was just a lot of hope there. And it's a hope that we have in each other, the hope and the trust that we have in each other, that it's going to work out and that we're doing the right thing. How many of you remember? Yes, Judith, uplifting. Yes, yes, powerful. And G. You know, how many of you remember the feeling? Can you remember the feeling when we were playing the national anthem at the Parliament building? Who remembered that? Yeah. Who remembered that? We played the national anthem at the Parliament building, and I'm telling you, it was spectacular. I spoke to two or three persons. They said that they cried. They cried, you know, because it's really all about our nation. It's not hating anyone. This is not a few people who have a grouse with Miss Motley. I've never met the woman. I don't have a grouse with Miss Motley. We do this for our love of country. The love of country. It is because of the love of country we can't keep quiet. We can't keep quiet. Yes, Natasha, you felt pride and hope, somebody said. And Natasha was moved to tears. I spoke with a gentleman who said you know, tears came to my eyes. You know, I can't, when I have to close my eyes when I'm singing the anthem. You know, I close my eyes when I sing the anthem, and that's gonna come up right now. I'm gonna ask our technical persons to have um the the um the anthem ready for us. You know, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. I don't see the general just yet, but I know he should be coming in real soon. Um, but we're gonna play the anthem, and everybody's reminding me not to forget my disclaimer. You see, you're part of this, and that's why, you know, it is important for us to understand. For those of you who are listening, and I know that you are watching from the, you know, the BLP, and all of you who are watching, you need to, you know, it's important for you to understand something. You know that this is a together thing. We do this together. The march was successful. The march was successful because we came together and we did it. We did it together. It was your money, and we collected more than enough money that we needed. And the money is left back to cover some of these expenses. And money was still, people drove up to my house today and drop off money. Money still, people tell me to come and pick up money tomorrow. So listen, the people are paying for it, you know, and that's a beautiful thing about it. There is no sponsor. We don't have a bunch of companies sponsoring this that, you know, somebody can whisper in their ear and tell them don't give any more money and then it dries up. No, it is coming from the people. They bring People bring $5, $2, $10, $50, $100, and it goes up or goes down, and they bring it, right? And so it is really about the people, and I love that. I love that. Yes, Adrian, we calculated it, and it's about for us to be able to get the all the permits, the extra police presence, plus the Independence Square, because we have to pay them a little longer. So the police presence, Independence Square itself, insurance. If we put up, we have to pay the music, so cost cap. So you're looking at an extra. You're looking at about $1,500, Adrian, to really rent Independence Square, and to about $1,500 more, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's thanks for asking thing. But whenever we go again, we're gonna aim for Independence Square. One of the reasons we had stopped, we looked at the economy, Adrian, and so we did not want to be going to the people all the time for money, because it's tough on families. So what we had done, we condensed what we normally would do: a march, play music on the road, and use our placards. And then what we did, we then go to Independence Square and did all the speeches, but we condensed it. We were trying to be efficient, and so we did the music and the speeches on the road itself. And so we didn't need to. We would cut off $1,500 of the bill, because we wanted to not make it so expensive. And every time we have to come to our fellow Barbadians for money. But I think some of the times we could go to the square, because people are asking for the square. People want the square. So yeah, okay, Don. Don says that's easy. He will make a donation, and that this is how it happens. And we have been accused of taking money from right wing. They wrote, David Commission, wrote some lies on us. He wrote lies on us that we are taking money from right wing organizations to put on our marches and our rallies, and it's a complete lie. That is what is a lie. The money's come, just like you see Don says that I'll make a donation next time. Don, you can message me 236-7000 246 area code if you're outside of the country, and so that we can do it and do it properly, right? Yeah. Yes, Jillian, we give God all the thanks, and I have to give God all the thanks, and we, as I keep saying, we're from different persuasion, and so we oftentimes we do things differently, but I want to give God all the thanks for yesterday, right? Let me check on the general. I'm not seeing him here. Let me check on the general. Yeah. So I want to. Yeah. It was. I want. It was. It's all of us. I believe that message. Yes, Rose. I believe that message went straight to them. Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. I got a call. I got a call, and I'm going to tell you why. Just you hang on. I'm going to tell you the truth. So you just hang on. I have something to tell you all. But this is what happened there at the march, and I just want to say to everybody, that was our march, right? That was our march, and we did that together, not just with the people in Barbados, but with the diaspora. The diaspora, their contribution, what they gave, right? They gave so much. So we have a little piece of it here. I hope no music is in it, but let's get a little piece of it. Go ahead. Well, careful with the music. No sound, no sound. All right, we have to be careful with music. If we play music, then it becomes a problem for us. And I'm trying to save this channel for us, so the music becomes, so we can just show what's happening. Let me put it back. We can show what's happening, but no sound. So it was no sound, because that's one of the reasons why it was not carried live, right? Because we get challenges with that, right? So that's it without the sound, where we're walking on the street. Yes, all the music. I mean, all the placards, everything, right? Yes, it was a beautiful time. Beautiful time. Yes, we're just playing the video, just you get a little sense, those of you. And there is going to be, we normally put up a video of the march, and that's going to happen. Happen soon. Thank you to John Moore. If it's not there already, I didn't get a chance to check. I was trying to get a little sleep today, and we were busy. We were up in St. John, you all. We were in St. John. We were up there with the people of St. John. They can't wait for us to come. I spoke to the lady in St. John. She said she made I heard that she makes the best fish cake in the world, right? So she should be. We're gonna taste that fish cake in St. John. But I see Mr. Franklin coming on. But just before he comes on, we're going to go right into our anthem. I feel like we're not going to play it every night, but I feel like tonight I want to play the anthem tonight. You know, it just got me all into a certain mood. I love it. Yeah, you know. So let's have the anthem. Let's have the anthem before Mr. Franklin comes in. Let's put on the
Oh
tell you, and I'm in my house, and I'm standing up, Mr. Franklin. Oh my Lord! I know you're a good evening. I know you're an ex-army man. How do you feel when you hear the national anthem?
Yeah, I'll tell you how I feel. You feel really great when you're overseas and you hear it. You can't feel better. You start with such pride, man. You start like an arrow. I'm always very proud. I stop whatever I'm doing because that's a sign of respect. Not because the song thing is, because it's our national anthem and you have to show the respect. We have a lot of instances where you see people tying their heads with our flag and using them in performances where they use them to through the seat and all kind of nonsense and dancing with them, and that is also a criminal offense. But nobody does anything about it. You cannot change up the national anthem. It has one set of one beat. That also, if you use the national anthem, like how you see people go in the United States and they come out and they sing the United States national anthem and they change the tune to suit themselves, the artists, if they're performing whatever thing. We don't have that. We have one standard thing, and that's where it should be done. It's actually a criminal offense in Barbados, and to use our symbols, and when they see them, and unless you get permission from the minister responsible, and you see our national emblems and stuff, people just stick them on anything, and nobody don't realize that these are some of our sacred things. And I get offended by it, but I can't complain and cry about everything. So I leave those alone when I see them. Sometimes you see a fellow guy said tied with the flag and he's on the stage performing. You can't do that. He's on the stage performing and the police there and the crowd watching the thing, and they probably don't know themselves. But these things, I think we need education. And that is something I want to talk about tonight. Educating our people. I had a few calls today about Ralph Thorne crossing the floor.
Yes, yes.
So
You
I
wanna?
want to talk about that later on
Yes.
when we
Go
get the
go ahead.
chance.
Go ahead and start because there are lots of questions. So right now, Mr. Franklin, we do a lot of education on this show. I have learned a lot. And I was thinking about that today, how much I've learned of Mr. Franklin, and I have to give you all the honor and thanks for that, sir. I have learned
Well,
a lot
I
about
I,
how Parliament works
I
and
trade off because
everything.
I learn a lot from Kimar, so it's a trade off. He teaches me a lot of stuff
And I
too.
learned a lot from
So,
Kimar. It's just a teaching, way to learn. And so
so
I'm going to turn over to you now, sir, for you to talk to us about what we saw happen on Friday, right? This thing happened on Friday. So can you talk to us about this? Is Ralph Thorne crossing the floor. So talk about to us about that, please.
I have been watching this situation for a long time, and you would see Ralph Thorne is a man of conscience. He, but he was in the Barbados Labour Party, and he tried to be loyal, but he had a difficulty being loyal to both. So at times you would see Ralph Thorne being away from Parliament at crucial times. When the government is doing something silly, he wasn't there. I don't think he was there when they installed the new constitution and made Barbados a republic. I don't think he was in Parliament. I can't remember seeing him. But I think he must have had some reservations about that process because I had a lot. And I complained bitterly, but to no avail eventually. And I had to pick up my bike and walk. And they make a meme out of that. And I'm going to get offended back when this act is passed and complain that I am hurt. So that, you know, the whole process, you can see Ralph Thorne was a conflicted person. He could not continue serving with these people, knowing that it went against all his conscience, all of his education, all of his training. And I thought that he would have gone sooner, but he fought. He wanted to remain a loyal person to the Barbados Labour Party, but it is like having like two loyalties to opposing things. It can't work. You have to there's a saying. You're beating Martin.
Yes, come a little closer to the microphone or turn it up the volume, something. Yes, thank you.
It's like having two masters. You can love one and despise the other. Okay, I read that somewhere. I not exactly remember where, but if you have two masters, you're gonna love one and despise the other. And Ralph Torn would have been required to display truth and honesty and integrity. So he had to leave. There was no place else for him to go. But what concerns me is that one or two people I've spoken to today saying, no, there should be a by-election. She can't just cross the floor, that people can't do it. But Reverend Addy did it, and no, he coming doing it too. That betrays a fundamental misunderstanding about our system of government and the way we elect people. There is no such thing in our laws and our constitution as, and the way we elect our parliament, as a party. People form themselves into parties to run elections, but each person that runs in an election does so on an independent basis. There are if you have 60 candidates running, there are 60 independent candidates.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, the people in that 60, 30 will win. The the amount who decides, well, look, okay, we have 20, we have 25 uh, people to support, and the constitution says the person who commands the majority of the seats in parliament, the support of the seats in parliament, that person becomes the prime minister.
Mhm.
But it doesn't say anywhere that the party was elected. The Barbados Labour Party has never contested an election. People who band themselves together in parties, they contest elections. But officially, you do not contest an election. Everybody is an independent person according to our constitution.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So it's the individuals. It's the
Yeah,
individuals.
individual. Like for instance, in Guyana, parties contest the election. So the party that get the most votes get the majority of the seats. And if and they provide a list of people that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down to 33 or whatever they they require. Sorry about that, I forget to turn it off. So when you have a situation where the a person now in Ghana cannot cross the floor because his party has to fill the seat. So if you have 3/4 of the votes cast, you get 3/4 of the seats.
Mhm.
So if a person dies or resigns, somebody goes up on the list. Because it is the party that is elected, not an individual. And
Mhm.
Barbados, we elect individuals. Mind you, what has happened is that these individuals say, I can change, I can go up because I don't have, I'm not bound by any requirement to stay in any particular party. The person in the Caribbean who made sure that his people remain loyal was Eric Williams. And
Mhm.
Eric Williams there, Eric Williams, if you wanted to run with Eric Williams, you had to sign a letter of resignation, undated letter of resignation, to the Speaker of the House. Before you contest the election. So if you want to run under my party, this is a condition that you have to have. You have to you have to sign a letter of resignation. Now, if you misbehave and Eric Williams want to get rid of you, he puts a date on the letter and get the speaker. You're gone. So that is where he
Right.
commanded loyalty among his people. How we have done it in Barbados to command loyalty in this administration, they make everybody, almost everybody, a minister. A minister now cannot vote against the government or speak against the government because if he does so, he will have to resign. And
Ah,
you get the big bucks. So what I believe is happening with this administration is that a lot of people out there do not support Miss Motley's behavior, but they they want the big bucks. So they stifle their conscience.
so
It's
you're
as simple
saying
as
that
that.
so what I understand you're saying is that if you become a minister, right? It is going to be very, very difficult. But you can't just get up and you can't disagree. You're saying that you can't publicly
You
do
can't
those
publicly
kind
disagree
of
because there is something called collective responsibility in the cabinet. So when
oh,
the cabinet makes a decision, all members of the cabinet make that decision.
so Ralph Thorne, he wasn't a minister.
He wasn't a minister.
Ah,
So that is sometimes you might see him get up in the house and speak
yes.
contrary to what the government is saying, trying to like teach them a little common sense or something. But a minister cannot do that. If a minister does that, he first has to resign because a minister would have sent that bill down to Parliament because all bills go to cabinet first. The Attorney General certifies that it is good to be presented to Parliament, and they all agree that it can go to Parliament. Now, you cannot agree that it must go to Parliament and then go to Parliament and vote against it or speak against it because you would have agreed in cabinet. That is why it is such a mockery when you have these shows, what they call the estimates, where people come up there and play them asking each other questions. They must know what are the estimates because they are the persons who approve the estimates to go down to the house. So when you go and ask somebody who sat down with you and approve them, what is contained in them, it is a show.
Mm.
It is a show for the public, make the public feel that, oh, we are doing something. They're not doing anything. It is just parody. It is like a theater. And unfortunately, civil servants allow themselves to be caught up talking about they're going to develop the parliament, and some of those young women go and get a string of pearls, and or sometimes even be fake pearls, and they go down and sit down because they want to be noticed. They have no right in there. The, the house is elected for and ministers to represent their ministries to the parliament, not the civil servants. No civil servant have no right in there doing what the ministers should be doing. But unfortunately, you see, the prime minister realized that the ministers that she have are not really ministerial material. So she has to get somebody to do what the ministers should be doing at parliament. So she come up with this concept of coming to the well of parliament and people being interrogated and civil servants are being embarrassed at those in those places. No, it is the minister who is responsible. In the ministry, when something goes wrong, the minister should put his resignation at the disposal of the government, not the permanent secretary, not the chief education officer, not anybody. It is the minister. That is our system of government. That is the system of government that we adopted when we took the Westminster system of government that obtains in England. And the problem here is people see the show and allow themselves, even political scientists walk around talking about, oh, it's a good move and it's a bad move. Some criticize, some don't. And they don't actually tell the people, when you educate the people, because a lot of our political scientists are party people who trying to give their interpretation of events to suit their party. There's probably one who speaks without a political bias. I talking about Dr. Haynes. The rest, try to make things favor their political the party that they favor. Their analysis don't make sense. Ralph Thorne has done nothing improper or illegal. He could not stand by and allow the government to continue behaving as it is and say nothing. Because the Ralph Thorne that I know, I would have lost all respect for him because not the Ralph Thorne. I've actually appeared against Ralph Thorne in matters and employment matters. All right? And when it comes, Ralph fights hard. But when the employer that he's representing is wrong, Ralph just let him know. That's the type of man that he is. And I don't even consider I say I beat him because he acknowledges that his client is wrong. And we get a settlement or whatever. If he feels that I'm wrong, he fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that about him, you know. I've seen it in another lawyer, you know. A lawyer, I go to a case where a fast food place, and the fast food people dismiss a lady for eating 6 chips that were going to throw in the garbage. And when I go to the meeting, this particular lawyer says, when I go to speak, he said, Mr. Frank, I don't say anything. He turned to the employee, he said, you all went too far, man. You can't do this. You know, we don't have enough people like that. We need them in Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
So Ralph Thorne is one of them. So when people misunderstand the system of government that we are in, and they're criticizing for party political reasons, Ralph has done nothing immoral, improper, or illegal. He has done what the law has allowed him to do, and if and he's elected for 5 years or until the prime minister calls election. If you do not like that because he didn't stay under the banner of the Barbados Labour Party, but there's nothing to make him stay, then you have options. You can say, well, I'm voting for you again. But right now, you have nothing to complain about because this is a possibility. I can tell you something, because
Mm-hmm.
most people do not know that Errol Barrow was not the leader of the Democratic Labour Party when they won in 1961. It was Branker. Branker was the leader. But when the MPs who won went to Government House, they tell the governor, we want Dipper, Barrow. So Barrow became the premier. It isn't that Barrow but Barrow was all the most popular fellow thing, but he was not the leader. But you have up to that night, election night, when the votes are counted, and the people decide, well, look, we can go behind Barrow, or we can go behind whoever. Barrow then emerged as the premier, even though people were, but mind you, it was a popular choice, not only among the the MPs, but it was a popular choice in the country.
In the country, yeah.
And I remember doing some research into it because it was still quite young.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened, Branker then, Barrow offered him a ministry. And Branker was so hurt. He could not see himself serving on the Barrow when he could have been the top dog. And Barrow replaced him as top dog. He ain't taking the ministry. So he became the Speaker of the House.
Mm-hmm.
Because then at
Wow.
least the Speaker of the House is supposed to be impartial. And we have seen areas where the speakers have not been impartial, because the job of the speaker is to protect the minority. Well, we
Right.
don't have a minority or majority right now, but so right now, when Ralph Thorne goes to Parliament and they try to do anything, the speaker should call them to order, because his job now, because the speaker does not have to protect the majority can take care of themselves, but the
Yes.
minority, the speaker must use his best efforts to make sure that they don't mistreat him. But you're not going to see that.
Yeah, it's part. It's a. So let's review. Let's review because I learned quite a bit. I don't know everybody else. About 924 persons on, and I just want to review. So it is not that when we elect, we don't elect a party. We're electing individuals in our
Precisely.
constituency, right? So, Mr. Thorne, having not taken a ministry, right? He was within his right to be able to do what he did in crossing the floor. If he was a minister, he first would have had to
Resign from the cabinet.
resign from the cabinet, but he would still resign
He
from
would,
the cabinet. And could he still cross the floor?
yes, because then he'd be a backbencher then, and he would not have any collective responsibility for cabinet decisions. So
I
he
see.
could cross. So you can cross the floor at any time, but you can't cross the floor and be a minister. You got to be in the cabinet. So Ralph
Right.
Thorne didn't have to take a two-step process, because he was on the back bench. Mind you, I think it was one of the best legal minds we got around the place, and he was not the attorney general for whatever reason, because we know the present attorney general got one of the best legal minds anywhere, not even the best legal mind in high school. But he is the chief legal advisor to the government. That's what the Constitution says that the Attorney General is.
Right.
But so, but I after I had about, I think, three calls, people, well, some of them were supporting, two, I think two were supporting, and one was telling me, no, you should have to have a by-election because this is foolishness. Mind you, you can probably understand that the person that was telling me so was a Barbados Labour Party supporter, and they feel that anybody do anything to the Barbados Labour Party has offended all Barbados Labour Party people.
Yeah.
So it is not a situation where Ralph Thorne has to go to seek a by-election because he didn't resign from the house. He just changed seats in the
Yeah.
house.
In the house. Yeah. Now, someone said it here. Gelbis is saying that the PM said he that he has not communicated to the BLP. He communicated to the president, and so it makes sense what you are saying here, that he did not. He didn't need to communicate to the BLP. He needed to go to the president, right?
He needed to go to the president, and then the president would inform the prime minister, and she would inform the speaker of the house, and then the speaker of the house would tell the clerk, well, Ralph Thorne is no longer on the government side, so make provision for him to sit someplace else. And then you got to go and find offices for him, and I hope they don't put him next below where Ninja Man broke in, because that place is a dump. So they got to find alternative arrangements for him.
So the opposition, that section of parliament has been in a derelict state, is my
Yes,
understanding,
yes.
because it's close to the parliamentary museum that was allegedly broken in. So the question is, as you're saying, exactly where is he going to be, and will he be off somewhere by himself?
Well, they
You
have
know,
to they have to provide accommodation, even if they rent accommodation somewhere close to the house, if they ain't got the space in the house, because the space that they had, they did not, because they were so arrogant to believe that they ain't gonna have opposition ever. Because mind you, may I almost guarantee that, because if you look at the composition of the house, the composition of the house almost mirrors the composition of the cabinet, almost. So you can't be in cabinet and speak against the government. And if you speak against the government, the prime minister can fire you, or you should first resign. Now, if you resign from the cabinet,
I'm stopping you deliberately there because I think that's something that I learned tonight. And I just want to reiterate it in case there might be somebody else like me who didn't know that. You're a minister. Once you've been made a minister, you can't publicly speak against
government
anything,
policy.
any policies at all. You would have to resign and then speak against it. Okay, so let that be clear.
Yes, if you do so, the prime minister is within her rights. Mind you, she's within her rights to fire you anytime she chooses.
Hmm.
But she could not tolerate a prime minister cannot tolerate a minister who speaks against a decision that he is part of, because
Hmm.
all ministers make the decisions that come. Even if in cabinet you disagree, your disagreement must happen in cabinet. And then if you don't get enough support in cabinet to sway your way, then you then join everybody and come down, because there's no majority rules when it comes down, because there's no majority when the cabinet make a decision. Everybody is responsible for that decision.
Yes.
So you can't come down to the house and say, I didn't like it, but no, you can't do that. When you come down to the house, because cabinet does not make laws, they
Hmm.
propose laws to the house.
Right.
Unfortunately, our house is made up of mostly cabinet members.
Cabinet members.
So
Yes.
it is guaranteed that if it is ordinary legislation, let me say ordinary legislation, I'll explain that. If it is ordinary legislation, the government will always win, because enough people on the back bench cannot outvote the government. We should
Hmm.
never have a parliament where the front bench outnumbers the back bench, because that is greater than majority of the more than half of the House, because the cabinet will always win. So our system is set up where, don't care how wrong the cabinet is, they will come to a decision and take it to the House, and then the same people should pass it. That is stretching the separation of powers doctrine a bit, because the cabinet makes the decisions. They say, oh yes, the cabinet makes the decisions, and the cabinet takes them to the House. But then the same people who are in the cabinet are also members of the House. That is why you see in the United States system, cabinet members are not members of either the Senate or the Congress, because they have a true system of separation of powers, where ministers, because they call them secretaries, right? The secretary responsible for a department, ministry, they call them departments. A secretary is selected by the president, and if they want to pass legislation, they have to bring it to the Congress and the Senate. And Barbados, when the cabinet wants to pass legislation, they bring it to themselves, basically, because they are then the majority in the House. So it is a bad system. It does not strengthen our democracy. As a matter of fact, it does not qualify to be democracy. The way we do business in Barbados, we call it so, but it's not really democracy. And the cabinet being able to outnumber the House. Look, for instance, look in England. England got 300 somebody members of the House of Commons. Can't remember the number now, but yes. But then they got 21 or 23, 24. Can't remember the numbers again. Ministers in cabinet. So the cabinet can be outvoted, but that less than 100 people, and they got over 300 on the back benches. So the cabinet has to answer to the House.
Right.
Our system, the cabinet doesn't have to answer to anybody. They do what they like.
Wow, and especially now, I mean, when we see what is happening, where we don't have, except Mr. Turner, there's no opposition in there, so they just living their best life,
Yeah, but watch. The Prime Minister now pays the cabinet ministers about 17, almost $18,000 when a month come. I think backbenchers get to sign like 6 or 7. So if you leave the cabinet, you're moving from $18,000 to about $7,000. So a lot of those people in cabinet, with few exceptions, can't make that kind of money else anywhere in their private life.
You're saying that is even one of the reasons why a lot of them won't even consider.
They won't consider resigning, because a lot of people in our present regime now couldn't make it on their own with a snow cone cart. And I know that they are making big bucks. It is very hard.
So they're making 18,000.
About 18,000, close to $18,000 a month.
Close to 18,000 a month. And if they go like Dr. Brown, like Dr. Sonia Brown, she resigned, so she became a backbencher.
She can make 7 now.
So she makes $7,000. And so we need to make this clear, because sometimes people try to make trying to say, negative things about Sonia Brown, but that is a real gumption right there. I think that's a courageous move, especially in this financial climate, where she's able to say, listen, I'm not going to stand in disrespect. I don't like what is happening, and she resigns, and it's taking a whole probably $10,000, $11,000 less than what she's getting. So she would be able to do just a one-step move if she wants to cross the floor, right, Mr. Franklin?
Yeah, she won't cross the floor. No, she ain't gonna go on resign. But she resigned already. So people don't understand, and I feel politicians like it that way, so they can whip up people's emotions and get all kind of stuff going, and keep people ignorant. No, but you see, I like to educate people. I like people to have all the facts so that they can make an informed decision, and sometimes even to make informed comment. So when you hear these people talking and criticizing, they're talking what they hear somebody say because they don't have any real knowledge of what happens in government, right? So it is a mockery of the system to have a cabinet so overbloated. I remember when Frandl was in power, his cabinet was 17, including himself, and the prime minister now who went in opposition, she said that that's five more than Barbados need. And then when she came into power, she had 26.
Right.
Right?
And paying them
So,
and paying them 18 a little over $18,000 a month. A month. And we can't see what they're
but
doing. So
what has happened here?
uh-huh.
She has created this thing called senior minister. In the Westminster type government that we have, there's nothing called senior minister. A minister is a minister. All right? There's a prime minister, primus inter pares, Latin, first among equals, and everybody then are equals, but they're second, so to speak. You do not have a senior minister now who supervises another minister. A person who supervises a minister is the prime minister. But she's not in Barbados a lot, so she had to designate other ministers to do her job. So she
Yeah.
met a few senior ministers and then pay them the same amount that you pay to the deputy prime minister, which also is not a constitutional post. That's something that the prime minister can decide that she wants a deputy. But there is no such thing in our constitution. Our constitution
Oh,
requires
okay.
our constitution requires a prime minister and an attorney general. As a matter of fact, it says the prime minister and five others
Yeah.
minimum. After that, so that you can you so the, and but one of which must be styled attorney general. So you will see every time a government is elected, the prime minister is sworn in, and then she
An attorney
nominates the
general.
attorney general. So they're the first two people to be elected to be in the
Oh,
cabinet.
okay. The deputy prime minister position is something that they created on their own.
Yeah, the prime minister has the power to create a lot of posts and stuff, and one of them is deputy. And nobody has
Deputy.
ever challenged it, but it is not provided for in our constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, let me tell you how senior ministers came about. When Billy Miller was deputy prime minister, now Mia Motley was his blowy girl, so to speak, and he wanted to push Mia, so he took down Billy and made Mia the deputy. Well, Billy cruel, Billy angry. So they after come up with this thing, well, he can make her something called a senior minister and pay her the same salary, so she ain't got nothing to complain about. Billy was getting the same salary as the deputy, so there's no law to it. This is what the prime minister decide that the
Right.
cabinet people will make.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but the only other senior minister you would have is in the church, not in cabinet. We don't have them in cabinet. And Belize, the first time we had a senior minister was George Price. George Price was Belize, and Belize was George Price. He was the first prime minister, and he was well loved. Mind you, when he lost the election, the opposition then became the government, but he was so well revered in the country that the opposition named him senior minister so he can sit on the front bench of the opposition and still be allowed to hold his diplomatic passport because that was out of respect. He didn't go to cabinet. It was an honorary position. It is his opponents who knew what he had done for Belize, and we try to pull down people and say, well, you're not good, you don't do nothing and that kind of stuff. That's why they don't want nobody to believe that Bar did anything or these people here. But in Belize, the opposition, when they became the government, gave George Price a position of honor, and they call him senior minister so that he can retain his diplomatic passport and still travel, and then he ain't gonna sit on the backbench, so anybody can sit down and be friend. Here in Barbados, when Bernard St. John was the prime minister, when he lost the government and retained his seat, he sat on the front bench.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they allowed him to sit at the front because he was honored.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't call him senior minister, but we gave him that kind of um, reverence, that kind of. Um, so we have a lot of misunderstanding in our
Yeah,
system, and I think the politicians thrive on it and
because people
keep
don't know.
yeah and keep
Somebody
people
asking you
ignorant.
a question here, Mr. Franklin. Is the workload different between the House and the cabinet?
Yes, the cabinet is responsible for policy. They make the
Uh-huh.
policy. When they make the policy, they pass it on to the civil servants. The civil servants then do the drafting of the legislation or whatever, and then they send it back to cabinet, and the cabinet or do a paper really, and they outlining what they want the legislation to be. That legislation is written in normal language. That mean that cabinet paper that does drafting instructions. Those drafting instructions then go to the Chief Parliamentary Council,
Mm-hmm.
and they put it in legalese. And then they send it back to cabinet, and the Attorney General has to read that and say that the bill is good to be presented before Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
So any bill that comes before Parliament and then people find a lot of flaws in it, it is because the Attorney General did not properly do his job.
Mm-hmm. Ah, so a lot of these laws, there are lots of these laws that just, I mean, so wide, and you could tell it's not done properly. It reflects on the Attorney General.
It reflects on the Attorney General because I used to work for an Attorney General. And let me tell you something, he used to read every bill, every one. And sometimes he would send it back to the civil servants and say, look, you got a mistake here. They couldn't get past him.
Mm-hmm.
But this Attorney General now, he has, I think, a record of having more things sent back to the House and more changes than any other Attorney General in the history of Barbados. Because
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
the work that he sends down is shoddy.
Yeah. Somebody here saying that I was talking about Sonia Brown, and I was saying that the fact that she took like a well, initially she took like a $11,000 pay cut, to go to the back bench. But then she took a job, she took a position. Would that change her?
I, I
You
don't
know.
I don't know if that position is a paid position because it might be a chairman of a committee or something, so they don't get paid. And then that sometimes those chairmen of those committees, like some of those statutory board people, they get $1,200 a month and all kind. They do it for service. So I don't know what type of position she has. But like for instance, let me use Trevor Prescott. Trevor Prescott was a minister. He was getting minister pay, and the prime minister took him down.
Mhm.
So in order to keep him loyal, she gave him a job called something reparations. So he is now responsible for reparations. The board don't pay him any money. But then the salary for reparations pushed him back up to the minister pay. So that now has an effect of buying his loyalty. I'm not saying that she did buy his loyalty, but in effect that's what could happen. Right? And that is why we have our parliament is so dead because people want to hold on to them. When I was a young man and first started to follow um, the parliament, because I remember leaving school and going out to Parliament, to watch the debates and stuff. Because I was always interested, and that day I didn't realize that CBC was going to be um, doing anything in the house. Of course, I got my picture taken, and I got detention. you know, but that's what it is. You, you're muted, Mark. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We're hearing some breaking news at this time. Here that we're from somebody that I really trust here, saying that PM Motley just said at a Christchurch East Barbados Labour Party meeting that the cyber security crime bill might very well have to go to a parliamentary committee. So is it that they're planning to take it back, Mr. Franklin, to review it? What does that
No,
mean?
no, no, no. What happens? The Senate now can send it to a committee. It could be a committee of the Senate, or it could be a committee of both houses, because you do, because if it's already passed in the House,
Yes.
the stage for sending it to a committee has been passed in the House. So though the Senate would have to say, well, look, we want to dig into this thing and set up a committee to look into it. You could have a joint committee, or you can have a joint select committee, or you can have a committee of the Senate to review it. So I don't know what will happen here. I've got to wait and see.
Wow. Okay. So this is they said this is a parliamentary committee. So it seems like
It's a joint. There's a joint select committee. That's probably, if it's a committee of the whole part of the Parliament, it would be a committee where the House picks some people and the Senate picks some people, and it will be chaired by the Speaker or whoever they decide will chair it, or whatever minister will chair it, and or rather according to the law, the committee picks the chairman. So the committee then you send it to a committee. When the committee meets for the first time, they meet for the first time under the chairmanship of the Clerk of Parliament, and then persons are nominated to be chairman. Well, because the Prime Minister controls the House and things, she decides who the chairman going to be. So when you make a nomination, they ain't going to be another nomination because this is who the Prime Minister want. I well remember when we had the Cannabis Select Joint Committee. I was on that committee. And we turned up for the first day, and Underwear took the chair. I mean, in that weird. He took the chair. So when he started, I said, wait, hold on a minute. How you getting there? You got the authority to be in there?
yeah.
And they start making noise. And then they had to go and get the clerk to start the proceedings, get somebody nominated and seconded, and then when that person turned out to be Underwear, I mean Underwear, turned out to be Underwear, then he took the chair. But it is not an automatic thing. Just like in the case with Niel Rowe, when he was first accused, Mayor said, "Oh, Tuesday we Sandy Ford going to be his deputy speaker." She does not have that power. That power resides in the House. The House votes on who is the speaker and who is the deputy speaker.
So I have a question for you, Mr. Franklin. So is it that the PM was uneducated about this process like I am, or she knows and she ignores it? What do you think? Because if she is going to say she is appointing Cynthia Ford as the deputy speaker, that's something that a lay person would do, or it could be somebody who doesn't know what happens. What do you think?
It is in Mayor's case, it is a mixture. She only likes the power, but she does not follow the form or the substance of anything. She just, and being a bully, She decides I must have my way. This is my way. And of course, not because she is prime minister and she can call elections at any time, the people knuckle down to her. Because I'll give you an example out of the Caribbean. When John Compton was prime minister, they had an election. So it was Compton. They had an election, and there was a one seat majority. The government decided, well, we can operate with a one seat majority. That's good. So they dissolved the house the same day and called a second set of elections, and it turned out to be a one seat majority again. So what they did, they stole a man from the other side, give him and make him a minister of government, a fellow called Snack. They spell CNAC, but because they're French thing, they call it Snack. Everybody calls him Snack. I can't remember his first name. And he became Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think it was. So then they had the seal one from the opposition and come over to the government. And voila, he was able to govern easier because I think a fellow catch a cold and can't come to your house. You can't be sick. You can't do anything. You can't go there and carry your wife to a holiday or anything like that when the house is in session. Because if you got one seat, everything will be that. Because if a government loses the vote on any of its policies, it is required to resign. That is what you would see when if they don't, when they count the numbers and they see how many people are there, and they don't have enough, they don't put it to the vote.
Yeah. So somebody is saying here, because I'm trying to pick up on the questions because I'm getting so enlightened, and I'm sure that everybody who is watching is getting enlightened too. This person says, I was watching some debates in the Senate, and there were so many mistakes highlighted, spelling, grammar, duplicated paragraphs, etc. But if this was coming up from it went to the Parliament, and then
to the lower house. Both houses are called Parliament. The Parliament consists
right,
of
and
the
then
House of
yes,
Assembly and the Senate,
yes,
and the President. That they are Parliament. There are three
thank you.
branches of Parliament:
So if
House of Assembly, Senate, and
it
President.
went to the House, why is it why would it now still have the spelling, the grammar, and duplicated paragraph?
Because they were shoddy, and they're rushing
Who's
things.
shoddy?
The
Who's
people
shoddy?
in the people in the lower house, and the Attorney General in particular, because he should have read it and said it was in order.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one day when it was in the Senate, a bill came, and we were, I'm wanting to get up and say, but you finish this sentence you finish this thing in the middle of the sentence and start a new one. They didn't even finish the sentences. But they brought it before the House. Basically, but Monique has a hawk eye for these things, So when she was zeroing on these things, well, a lot of people wouldn't see them. But of course, then she's a lawyer and she's very detailed in the way she does business. So she was a thorn in their flesh. So it's part of the pun. But they couldn't do her anything because, mind you, I believe, even though she's the daughter of Branford Tate, who was a minister in the Democrat Labour Party, that she is truly an independent person in the Senate. I can see other senators, and the way they perform, I can tell that they have allegiances to the government.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is wrong, money calls you out, whether you in government or not. So I like her for that. So when they make these kind of mistakes, and it is really hard because the kind of work that you do in the Senate, they get paid $1,500 and something as a senator, and you should never be responsible for passing legislation in Barbados and getting less than any month come.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
really feel like
that explains it. So it's really just shabby work, incompetent work, that is happening, and they're getting their salary, guys. I want you to listen to this. This is what's going on now. I love this question here because John King, he never, somebody said, never understood why he never really resigned.
But he resigned. John King was in Mayor's cabinet. She could remove him from the cabinet, but she
Hmm.
couldn't remove him from the house.
Okay, because he
But
was
what
elected.
happened? He was elected.
Uh-huh.
So what happened there? Mayor wanted her friend Kim McConney to be the representative for the constituency that John King ran in. So Mayor
Hmm.
gave him a deal. John he could not win on his own. He had to have the backing of the resources that the Barbers Left Party get donated from the merchants in Bridgetown to keep that party going, contrary to the law, of course. And so he know that he couldn't win if he go by himself, and Mayor take him out. But she still put him in the Senate, because when she puts him in the Senate and make him a minister, because a minister could come from either the House or the Senate, he will then get he will still be entitled to his pension after 8 years. So there were 3 years in the first session,
Hmm.
and now when we have the second election, they need to have at least 4.5 years, so that those people who were elected for the first time in 2018 would qualify for a pension. And I think that is the motivation behind a lot of people who run for the House, because
Right.
you get pension at 55 0, and that same Parliament had the gall to turn around and carry everybody at pension age to 68. Well, is that 50,
Yeah. And
I well remember when theirs used to be 55, like the civil servants.
mhm.
Civil servants used to be retired to their pension at age 55. And when Barab made provision for MPs to get a pension, he synchronized it with the civil servants back in 1969. So in 1969, the civil servants will get their pension at 55 if they choose, or they could go on if they like. And the MPs will be getting their pensions at 55. Over time, they they increased the age from 55 to 60 to 65 to 67 and now 68 for civil
Mhm.
servants, but the MPs went drop to 50. MPs pushed up the civil servants when and pulled down theirs. And this is not now a BLP thing, because the it came down from 55 to 50 in 89 when the Dems were in power.
Mhm. Yeah. So I hope people are hearing, because we started talking this program. We got started every, I mean, 4 days a week, because we were talking about the pensions. And I know we've gone on to other topics. All right. But we realized that the Prime Minister, they did say that they were going to review the pensions of the MP, the number of years. Isn't that correct, Mr. Franklin?
Yeah, she said that. I don't understand why it's taking so long.
And they have not, we have not heard anything else about it. And I want Barbadians, that this is a show, we are non-partisan, and I want you to understand that this is very, very important. This is a promise that was made when we were making a lot of noise, and say, why would you lengthen hours and have us down to 68, but then yours is at 50? You retire at 50 and get your money at 50, pension of 50, right? All 18 years before we're down there. So at this point, what I'm saying, I want Barbadians to note well, don't forget, we're educated people, that we have not heard one word about this as yet. The same thing with the integrity bill. Just happened to not have been presented to the president yet, not have been proclaimed. So it did not have any teeth in it. Just happened to be. And so anything that has to do with them. So just remember that. Somebody's asking, is it true that Mia's salary is the highest in the Caribbean. Can we get a breakdown of her salary and remuneration? Do you know, Mr. Franklin?
I am looking for her salary. No, because I had done a spreadsheet on it sometime back when yeah, I got too many iPads.
So while you look for that, let me say to people, we what we want to do is to also there are lots of other questions that you want, you're asking, um, you know, what are the options that Mr. Thorne has? Can he start a new party? I see people asking, you know, what are his options and so on and so forth. We will talk about those. So we had some other things planned for tonight, but I don't know if we're going to get to them. Miss McLean is supposed to come on to talk about the economy, and I'm not sure if we're going to get to it tonight because there's so many. There are over 1,215 persons who have signed on tonight. 1,215, both on YouTube and Facebook. And I know they want to know about this particular issue here. So I don't know if Miss McLean can come on and lend her voice as well to this issue, and when we deal with the other issue another time, because this is what the people want. They're being educated. I'm being educated tonight. I tell you, see my book. You see my book write up. My book writes up, because I'm learning tonight. Yeah. So Mr. Franklin is looking to see, um, you know, yeah. So it means then, guys, that if this is, if that is the case, that it is going to the parliamentary committee. It seems like, as it is a joint select committee, as Mr. Franklin has clarified. It seems like they are going back to review this bill. This is the cyber security bill, security crime bill. Yes, the cyber security crime bill. So it means that the loyal opposition and the people of Barbados, we have once again prevailed. They're not going to come and tell you, but that's what it means.
That is exactly what it means.
That is what it means. Let
Because
me see. Yes.
the bills should go to select committees before they are passed. As a matter of fact, a report from when you then debate the bill, you debate the report and not the bill itself. Right? Because then they go through clause by clause and they tell you what should come out, what should come in and stuff. And then you speak on that bill, that report. So when they bring the report before Parliament, the report is approved and what comes out in there is approved. So the problem is that the government now is backpedaling, thanks to the numbers you saw downtown on Saturday, because somebody told me there were over 1,000, but I wasn't counting, and that tell the government, and that told the government that it is just a few people out there now. Remember, they said it was just a few rabble rousers and what's the call us, all kind of foolish things, but they have taken that seriously. So if in fact the prime minister is saying that we are going to a joint select committee of the House, that at least is a victory for the people of this country.
Yes.
Because they just they're getting it wrong every time. Something like this should be brought before a committee to go for the committee to go through. As a matter of fact, it should be discussed in the country, because that's where bills are passed. Bills are laid in the House, and when you hear Mr. He's commanded to lay whatever in the House, and then he said, well, move the first reading of this bill. The first reading just means that it is presented to Parliament, and then it is then supposed to be printed and circulated to the members.
Right.
So that's all the first reading really is. You when they make the first reading, it is printed. It should be sent to the government printery. the government printer prints it and sends it out in the official gazette. So everybody in Barbados who wants to have a say on that bill can do so. But because this government is always doing everything wrong, they forget the step and they say, well, look, they do all the first, second, and third, and then pass one day.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no opportunity to send that bill out for the public to discuss it. So that is
Mm-hmm.
taken away from the people of the country their right to be involved in the governance of this country. Because that is
Yeah.
the way, because when you see it, it comes with official gazette. You say, wait, the behind pass that, and then there'll be some talk in the country. But they pass it. Mind you, it still has to be sent to the official gazette. So in the end, the government passes it and then tell you, put the official gazette, in effect saying, this is what the government intends to pass that we have already passed.
No, no, no. I see Miss McLean there. She has to let me know when she is able to get in. But I think that the number somebody said here that Mr. Bob is saying that a record number viewing tonight following record numbers in the March. This is sending a strong message. And I believe that is what is happening. And this is what I always said, Mr. Franklin, that when Barbadians understand, if they're educated, you see how many logged on tonight and telling you thanks for the education? Because out of this education comes action, and that is what is happening in Barbados. People are getting educated on the show, and out of this is coming action. That's why they came out. We were all in the week talking about the bill, and thanks to Niel Harper, who is not here tonight, but we're in talk. He has done a tremendous job. Niel Harper, wherever you are, you're listening. We say you're a son of the soil and you're part of this loyal opposition. And we appreciate you and we thank you. People like Miss McLean was out there. But before I jump to her, Caswell, do you have anything about the salary? Because somebody was asking.
No, but the problem is that the salary is in the file on this iPad that we are speaking on. So I got to shut you out and go for it. So we got to do it another time. I got to go
Okay,
off the show.
right.
Because I was
And
looking
then
and I checked the other two iPads, it's not there. So it has to be on this
right.
one.
Okay, well, let me welcome Miss McLean, former senator. You're both former senators, former Senator Caswell Franklin and former Senator Maxine McLean. You see how blessed we are. You see the kind of teachers that we have. You see how I am just I'm right there in between them, and I feel I'm learning so much and I'm honored. And Miss McLean, I hear some people were talking about you today. I heard you were out there doing fun and you were
Yes,
Dancing.
yes, yes, I saw her.
I like music. I like to dance.
I
Anybody
didn't
who
even
knows me
know
would know
that.
that. Ask
I
anybody who would have been my contemporary at UE. In fact, there's a certain Tobagonian friend, former student of mine. When I started teaching, I was in my 20s. So I remember going to a fete on campus and he came up in front of me and said, look, my teacher, look. You know, I'm a Caribbean person, I'm a Bajan, so
yes,
something was
yes,
happening, so I had to move, right?
something's happening. Listen, I brought my thing here. I know we don't see we did education, but listen, she was going with the pot cover, Rose Corbin, and I heard. Oh, I didn't see Miss McLean. I heard Miss McLean was carrying on out there.
She
Not
was
carrying
right behind the truck, so when they was speaking, like,
But that is true too. Yeah, and
on.
in all the fun though, I really want to congratulate you guys because I got the message that you referred to. I mean, it obviously is on being circulated that
yeah,
apparently the prime minister made an
yeah,
announcement,
I
and
just
and
got it.
for, and for me, I said to somebody, and if I could find the message, I'm not sure it was to you, but I sent a message saying to somebody that bill will be pulled back. It will be pulled back. Sorry. And the reality is that it is just another example of the shoddy way. And I say shoddy, and I say this in the context of the Attorney General, who I found in his last set of comments about the bill when he sought to dismiss the contribution of Niel Harper. It was, to me, it was condescending, and it was wrong, because clearly you're dismissing somebody who is an expert, who is experienced in an area that you know little about. A minister of government does not have to be an expert in the particular portfolio he or she has, but they have to be able to take the time, respect the positions of those who know, and learn. Yes, you need a working understanding, and if you're smart enough, then if you're smart enough, you understand, and you work things through. But Caswell made the point. Almost every single thing. I think last week Caswell said they got the salary increase. Well, right? The
Yeah.
legislation.
That was the
But
one I got
I mean,
right.
it is worrisome for me, and I put on my hat, no mercy, as a former cabinet member, and I would say kudos to my former bosses, late David Thompson and Frando Stewart, who continued the arrangement. That one of the things that we did was to put in place a number of subcommittees of cabinet to review legislation before it went. Now, there's a clear process of how it goes. At the end of the day, if I start at the beginning and the end, this thing takes place within the frame of the Attorney General's office, because you have, it is, what's the name of the I always get confused, the Solicitor General and the, who is the other person?
Parliamentary Council, Chief Parliamentary Council.
Chief Parliamentary Council, CPC. They do the drafting. Drafting, as Caswell pointed out before, is highly technical, and you have a limited number of persons who stick to what is really a tough job. Okay, what I see happening here, two things. One, it seems as though in their rush to bring a range of legislation to Parliament, this government has been paying consultants. And I can tell you that when we explored that idea, two things were wrong. One, by the time we were finished, the consultants were receiving more money than the legal drafters within the CPC's office, and that created some issues. Secondly, most of the time when the people drafted it, the same CPC staff had to go over it and do major surgery. My father was a tailor, and he would tell you it's easier to make a pants or suit from scratch than to have to go and try to repair somebody's work. So what is happening? You have a situation where these people are being rushed to get out legislation. They're probably also using, and that has been said by members of Parliament and Cabinet, so I am repeating after them, that they're using consultants. And I know that legal drafters as consultants don't come cheap. If they are given support by external sources, they still would need to bring what I would call a national touch to it. And therefore, there's no easy way to get around proper legislation. The other point I was making is that both my bosses, the former prime ministers under whom I worked, insisted that in order for us to understand properly what we were taking to Parliament in the form of legislation, there needed to be a solid analysis of that. So even before the cabinet, it comes to the cabinet in a cabinet paper for approval, and then it would be sent on to Parliament. But before it got to all the members of cabinet, let's say we call it the governance committee. So let's say it was a piece of legislation relating to something in foreign affairs. As minister, I would have had to go through that with my permanent secretary, and so on. And then we would come to the governance committee. That was the committee that dealt with legislation. It was chaired by the Attorney General. And we would walk through those things. We would have persons from the CPC's office, Chief Parliamentary Council. You would have persons from the ministry. If there were technical issues, let's say from other ministries, these people would come together and we would walk through that. So in essence, by the time the piece of legislation went to Parliament, you could say that it was a proper piece of legislation. The other part, that's the internal. The other part that is critical, and Caswell can attest to this over the years, has happened, several governments, including both political parties running the country. if you have a major piece of legislation that you consider of significance to the country and so on, before you brought it to Parliament, you sent it to the Bar Association, you put it out there for the public to review, to discuss, to share their thoughts and so on. But Caso sat in the Senate and we heard him over and over again say that sometimes I know that legislation might be rushed, but that was the exception, not the rule, at least in the 10 years that I was there. But Caso would tell he would turn up in the Senate to see a bill for the first time, or perhaps not even get the document as the government started to debate it. So
Right.
what you're really saying is that the country has been shortchanged by that approach. And you know what they say, haste makes waste. They waste a lot of time because look what's happened. It has to go back. But I was predicting to somebody that it would have gone that way and it might get lost there for quite some time, because you can send it to a select committee to get a proper understanding, because in all fairness, even though you've gone through the kind of process that I described, you might still have a situation where some issues come up in the debate in Parliament or in the Senate, in the House or the Senate, where some things were probably not even contemplated, or circumstances may change, or all kinds of things. And you pause and say, no, let's go back to the drawing board. Or if you all lose it because it is unpopular and ridiculous, as in this case, you know what? Go and park it somewhere. We will see which one it is. Because as we pointed out, I mean, you heard Barbadians say, on all walks of life, you heard, professionals say, well, it'd be interesting. I haven't heard the Bar Association, correct me if I'm wrong, speak to this piece of legislation.
No, I was listening out for them, Miss McLean, and I haven't heard them.
But they may argue that it didn't. Well, I mean, it's been around enough because we've been talking about it. So
yeah. Well, I'm grateful, guys, because right now it's gone back. Basically, they've taken it back a step, as we were eyeing Wednesday to say, well, they're going to the Senate on Wednesday, but they pushed back to a joint select committee, and they're doing some review of that bill. And what I would say to Barbadians, all of us watching, the over 1,200 of us watching, what I say to us is that we do not stop.
Nope.
We do not stop. Next weekend, we are going to have a motorcade. There is a motorcade. The pressure, we are keeping the pressure on. You hear what I tell you? The pressure is going to be kept on. There is a motorcade that will be from Baxter's Road, right there at Westburn Mall, right? Westbury Road and Baxter's Road. We're starting there, and we're taking that motorcade through the communities and educating the communities. As we are going through the communities, we are going to talk to the people about this cyber crime bill. We are not sitting and waiting on them, Ms. McLean. We're going to educate. We're going to take that microphone. We're going to get a sound system strong enough. There will be education across the length and breadth of this country. The voice of the people is the voice of God. And we are going to go right across these communities. They're going to come out on their verandas and they're going to hear about this bill, and they will have to remove those sections from the bill. We are not going to stop. We're not going to sit and stop. And it is in the same way we must hold our dear Prime Minister accountable to the fact that she said that they are going to look at their retiring age. She said it's 50. They push ours to 68. 18 years difference. And before I'm saying to Barbadians, don't let it drop. Don't forget about these things. So Sunday, come out. It's not going to cost you money. If you're carpooling, everybody can put something in the gas, right? And pay a little gas, buy some snacks and some drinks. No alcohol because you're driving, right? Little drinks in the car, right? Beverages. Let me clear that up. Some sodas, and drinks, and some water in the car, and some snacks, and drive down to St. John and help us with the education. If you can put up little things on your car, anything you can put up, and so on. We hope that we could have some little things the police would allow us to give it out to people. But education is a must in this country, and we are going to get it done by the grace of God. it will be done, and we're not, this is not stopping. We're not stopping here, okay?
No, I
So
agree with you. I agree with you. That's important. And that's the other thing about these pieces of legislation. The public needs to understand. The public is going to be impacted by this and other pieces of legislation. Talk to them about it. Help them to understand. Look, but you see, I don't know if it's about helping people to understand. It's more about having a sword over people's head. And in this case, with this piece of legislation, when I listened to Caswell yesterday, again reiterating the challenges with the bill, you realize that at the end of the day, there would be silence in this country. Literally and figuratively, there will be silence, because if you as he said, somebody could send me a message unsolicited and they come after me because they send me a message that, and so at the end of the day, and ironically, there's a clip going around of the Prime Minister when she was leader of the opposition standing on a truck and telling Barbadians exactly what we are trying to tell them now. So I don't.
Let's play that clip. I have the clip.
Do.
I have the clip,
because you see, this is the contradiction. This is the contradiction, and I mean, I want the world out there who, the people who are praising and is pouring all kinds of adulation on the Prime Minister to reign on this. Are you happy that this person who is speaking to the world about all kinds of things is seeking to do this to her people? I'm serious. Because I talk to people overseas and they tell me, oh, I've heard your Prime Minister and she's making these statements, and we as developing countries, I say to them, all of that is beautiful. She's continuing work that has been done by her predecessors and so on. But I worry about what is happening at home, because they are not gelling. The two things are not gelling. Play if you got it, Marcia.
Yes.
But
yes,
you had two. You had two. The longer one would be better.
Yes, we're gonna play. There are two.
Well, you'll find it. Yeah.
And we will play them. We play them one at a time. And in the meantime, guys, continue to share and know that I want you to know that we are not going to stop. I'm going to talk about a call that I got at 9:50 something last night. I'm going to talk about it because I know that people from the government are watching, and I just want to personally had a discussion with my husband, and I'm going to address it on here tonight. It won't take up the time, but
go ahead. Whatever. If it's important, you need to deal with it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Marcia, the second one has the first one in it. So if you play the second one, you will get both.
Everything.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let me see what he has. Let's see what he has. Okay. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. As somebody said, people are being educated. Yes, somebody said they attended Saturday for the first time. The support Kima received was heartwarming. Somebody said, power to the people. Power to the people. Yes, Wendell Greenwich says, agreed. Marcia, agreed, meaning that we're not stopping. You can't. That's not how you do it. You don't sit back now and then you wait before it's too late. No. We are telling them no. And Lynette Eastman said something on this program. She said every politician watch numbers, and that's why they used to say, "Oh, don't listen to them. It's a few hundreds, right? A few people, just a few of them out there, right?" But let's go ahead and listen to the instruction that the Prime Minister is giving to Barbadians. Listen to this.
Today is about dealing with something that is deep in our soul as a people. We have walked across the length and breadth of this nation. I have too many messages on my phone. I have too many emails. There are too many people dressed in white across this country. Today is about sending a message that the people of Barbados will not allow anybody, neither Barbados Labour Party, Democratic Labour Party, private sector, to intimidate it. Not ever again. You have been raised to think for yourself, and you have the right to speak out, and you have the right to speak out without somebody trying to unfair you in this country. So equally about reclaiming for Barbadians the right to express themselves in an environment where fear is removed. We do not believe that the removal of a commissioner of police or the charging of a reverend for saying this is the worst government or threatening businessmen with contracts or threatening people with jobs. This cannot continue in the Barbados of the 21st century. And if ever the time comes that you give us the confidence to lead you, we too must ensure that we never rule a government to unfair or to cause fear in this country. This is the solemn promise of the Barbados Labour Party today.
Deliver, deliver, deliver,
Yes.
And it's
You
just like
know,
we have never seen it before.
I am
Look.
telling you, that message, you know, it's the PM Martley basically endorsing our marches. This is
And,
the
and
big,
condemning what they are doing now. Put that up to the end of
Yes, you have to.
as well.
But the only thing is that she said today, meaning that was their promise that day, but not now.
well,
She said that's our solemn promise today. She said it was today. It
Not
expired.
tomorrow. Not
It
tomorrow.
expired.
It's
Not
on
tomorrow.
that basis, Miss McLean and everybody else who's on here, I want to just say to those, because I know that they're watching, and it's good that you're watching, because you get to know what it is that we're saying. Now, about 9 something last night, and I'm gonna get the right time. I got a call. I was in bed. And you know, just looking through my phone and said, you know what, I'm gonna turn off this phone now and go to bed at 9:53 p.m. Okay, and I'm choosing what I'm gonna say because that person called us, you know, to alert us in confidence. I just want to say to those of you from the government who are watching the program that there is no need to call me to a meeting. Calling me to a meeting is not going to stop the marches. Calling me to a meeting has nothing to do with what you will not affect anything that you see happening on the street, because you know what? There's no, it's not my marches. It's not Caswell's marches. This is the first march Miss McLean came out to. There have been marches when I was in Poland that there was a march. I was in Trinidad that there's a march. It has nothing to do with Marcia Weeks. So you instructing people to give me a call, to bring me to a meeting, it's not going to do anything. And you know what else? I wouldn't be attending any meeting because everything that we have to say, it's said in these shows. So what you need to do before, hold on a minute, Mr. Thing. I want to talk to the government because they're watching and they will cut this piece out and please take it to the person responsible that have done the instructing, right? The point I'm making here is this, that I would never come to a meeting because I am not, it's the people's voice.
Non-negotiable.
Well, and I don't I'm not negotiating. And then as somebody dear to me, my house says, we don't negotiate with terrorists. We don't negotiate with terrorists. You're messing with the wrong set of people. And there is nothing listen, there's nothing that you have that I want.
Amen.
You understand that? I don't want anything from you. I'm not a rich person, but I'm satisfied with what I have. So get that out of your idea. Get that out of your game plan, because I am not coming to a meeting, and I'm talking to you tonight in English. Don't let me switch in patois on you. I am not coming to a meeting. I'm looking straight into the camera. It doesn't don't waste your breath. Don't call.
Say it in patois now so they understand.
Not call me, not call me, me not come. You not come here, waste your breath. You understand? You waste your breath, me not come because we not stop. You understand? This is the voice of the people that talk. You better listen. As you
Marcia,
are doing now. Yes.
I have been trying to get meetings to discuss the nurses, to discuss the prisons and and bra situation. And you can't get meetings. I know they want to give you a meeting. Look,
Yes, well,
you
give
should have
her
tell
like
them.
a shopping list of issues to address, and she would say, I will come to the meeting, but the agenda is we will speak to the prison, we will speak to nurses, we will speak to the cybercrime bill, and if that's what you want to talk about. But you see,
Listen,
I,
I
I,
will
I
go to
am
that
glad you
meeting.
said it.
Listen, I will go to that meeting, Miss McLean. If I will need to be holding a prayer meeting and casting out demons out of people and then blessing them. That is what that prayer meeting. That is what that meeting will be about. I am not. I will come to a meeting to cast out demons out of people and then lay hands and bless them. That's the meeting I'm coming to. I don't have no other meeting to go to. Right? Anyway,
Marcia, my
yes,
phone is busy. I am getting a lot of WhatsApp messages.
yeah.
One, I'm not going to read it because it's making the news that she's going to a parliamentary committee. But then some person wrote, then it says, "Cart before the horse again, shoes before socks again." Yeah. And then somebody else wrote me and said, "But can the PM make that decision? The bill is already passed the lower house." And the answer to that question is the PM cannot make that decision. That is not a decision that the Prime Minister can make. If when the bill was going through the lower house, she could propose that, and then the House would agree to it, and so be it. However, because she's big bad bully, it will happen. But it is contrary to the way we do things. Martin will tell you, you don't go to select committee after the bill is passed in the lower house. Whichever house originates the bill,
That's
and,
very
and, and a
true.
bill can be originated in either house. The Senate can propose a bill or the lower house, but mostly the lower house proposes bills because bills come from ministries and they got more ministers in the lower house than anything else. So you can propose a bill from the upper house or the lower house. But when it is passed in the lower house, it would have gone past the stage where you needed assistance to come to a good bill. Because that's basically what going to committee is. Committee helps you to refine the bill. Let's hear from the people, or either hear from, if you can take evidence at the committee, or you can just do it with it in-house. But in any event, that is to make the bill better. But you pass it. You're not passing it and trying to make it better after the fact. Cart before the horse, shoes before socks, all the time. This government wouldn't learn their craft. I think.
Council, question for you, sorry. But, this is an indictment on the other members of parliament. I mean, didn't any one of those 29 members of parliament and in the context of a full parliamentary group, because Marcia, what a parliamentary group, and Caswell can, I'm sure it used to happen before. I mean, that was a convention. Before Parliament met, the parliamentary group of each political party would get together to discuss the piece of legislation and so on. So I would figure at Caswell, and that would, with the full parliamentary group, would include the senators as well. But that somebody at some point say, look, something is wrong. They're all dumb now.
That is the problem, when you have a person like the Prime Minister who does not listen to dissent, you will get this. People might have seen these things, but they're frightened to say.
Frightened for what? We have men and women in this country.
Not frightened for what? Frightened for whom?
Well, I suppose so.
If people
What are
frightened
the
for?
consequences? It is.
I get reports from civil servants who complain about her behavior. But then when they want to do something about it, they're so frightened. They don't want me to call the name. I say I can't represent you, and not call your name. You know, and it has reached that point. I talk about very senior public officers. There are they give me some hits, some stories that cause the hair to stand me back on my neck, because nobody should be. And I think what has happened, even ministers now have adopted her behavior and treating the other civil servants badly too, because it is a learned behavior, and we need public officers. In the old days under Barrow wouldn't dare be abusive to any senior permanent any of his permanent secretaries. People like Major Daniel and those fellows with the teleprimes, you can transfer me, but you can't do me nothing. I'm a permanent secretary. You can't fire me. You can transfer from ministry to ministry, but they can get paid a permanent secretary salary. And those people were able to tell ministers, no, you're wrong. You can't go down that road. And if I'm not saying, you would have seen in your ministry where the civil servant will come and tell you, Minister, I don't agree with that position. And if you're smart, you will listen to them. And that's happened throughout the years. It is not happening now.
But of course, you see, I mean, I keep telling people that when people started to make comments, even though I understood certain things because of my training and background and whatever, I took advice from the career officers. And you're correct. And I just also want to reiterate the point, and I've said it, I'm sure, on this show. My late brother-in-law, my sister's late husband, used to swim with Branston Collymore. And I always remember my brother-in-law saying to me that Branston Collymore, when we talk about the public service and so on, Mr. Collymore used to tell his officers, give your minister the best advice based on your knowledge. It is up to the minister and his or her colleagues to accept it or reject it, but you have done your part. And that's all I ask of persons. What I would sit down, if you're saying something to me, I need to understand why. Let's talk about it so that at the end of the day, let's say, for example, it might have been in a position that might not have, that might have been contrary to what some of my colleagues might have been thinking. I said, well, arm me with the facts and the proper explanation so I can make a case. And I can tell you that where I sat, and for the time that I sat, we had those kinds of discussions. I can also tell you that, there was no at no time in the time that the late David Thompson was Prime Minister and subsequent to that, Prime Minister Stewart, did they seek to bull rush anybody or ram anything down anybody's throat. We might have had, robust discussions. Never disrespectful, I can tell you that. But people would have been comfortable as men and women sharing their views. In fact, those things were solicited. And where a particular view was sufficiently convincing, some people might say, okay, I accept that. You've convinced me, whatever the case may be. Or somebody might say, well, I still hold fast to my position, even though it might have been a position of one. And so I find it very strange that with all of this, one step forward and 6 step back, not 2, that none of these people are doing anything about it. I mean, I don't know. It is strange for me because, I mean, whether it was my time as when I worked at the university, I felt that whether it was, if I had to speak to the principal of the campus, I felt that as an adult, I'm speaking to an adult. I will never disrespect those in authority or senior to me, but I will tell you, I have a right to speak, and I will share this one. When my son was little, he said to me once, Mom, I have an opinion. I said, certainly you do. But my advice to you is how you express your opinion is also important. So I am not saying to anybody to go into a meeting and feel that they can behave how they like, but you certainly can't go in a meeting and be dumb. You're supposed, it's what it's called collective responsibility. It should also be collective decision making. Because if you accept collective responsibility, then you are equally responsible to ensure that that decision, which will then be attributed to a collective process, was truly collective in coming to the position that you come to. So I just find it kind of, I mean, I certainly would say to any person, ask your member of parliament what he or she is doing. How are they contributing to this set, reset, fall back, pull back, push back, whatever the case may be? Don't they have opinions? Don't they do some research? Don't they talk to some of the same constituents who may have technical knowledge that they don't have to get an understanding? Don't they say to the Attorney General, the Prime Minister, we have to revisit how we bring legislation to Parliament, because it is a waste of time, energy, resources, and everything to come and do things like this in a mad rush, hot and sweaty, and then you have to come back because something is wrong. And then before you come back to that, you get an Attorney General in Parliament in a very, and I reiterate the point, in a very condescending manner, talking down to people. Well, what was the expression, the term? I had it written down. In other words, they considered the various perspectives and arguments, but they don't find them material enough to take on. In other words, they have no value, of no worth, of no consequence, should not be considered. How dare you? When people who are experts in this area take the time to dissect the legislation, to go through it in a very significantly, to go through it in a very precise manner, walk people through it, identify the good parts of the legislation, identify the weak parts, identify the parts that are totally ridiculous. And so you dismiss all of that. It's like, we don't have time to listen to you. You guys are just jokers, but it can't work like that. And it's certainly from my perspective as somebody whose background is management, that's poor decision making, poor management, poor resource. It's a waste of everybody's time.
I was going through this bill, and I wanted to do a paper for presentation here to show people how really bad it is.
Please do.
But I have now some more time, so I'm not going to rush it now, because we have select committee. I might even go to the select committee.
You can send a report to the select committee.
Because let me do something. See, have you ever heard about legislation where the magistrates and the judges have the same jurisdiction? Because if you look at section 4, 5, 6 of that act, it says, section 4, let me just go to section 4 for you, and so I can read it to show you what I'm talking about, because when I can read it for you, I will. All right. It says it says here that a person who intentionally or recklessly and without authority does A, B, C, and then it says is guilty of an offense and is liable on conviction on indictment to a fine of $50,000 or 5 years in prison. That's the magistrate. So he has $50,000. The magistrate has $50,000. I mean the judge. Sorry, the judge. On indictment means before a judge. Summary means before a magistrate.
All right.
So the judge here can fine you up to $50,000. And then in section 5, the judge has the power to fine you $70,000 or 7 years in jail. Up here, the magistrate on the 4, when I was talking about earlier, he has $50,000. The judge has $50,000 and 5 years in jail. The judge, the upper judiciary. But if you go now to section 19, section 19 deals with the magistrate. The magistrate now can, it says, a person who intentionally or recklessly uses a computer system to publish, broadcast, or transmit computer data that A, B, 1, 2 is guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to to a fine of $70,000.
So the magistrate can charge you
more than the judge.
Well, I think, but you see, the Attorney General said he had no problem, and he certified this as in good order to go to Parliament. He did not listen to the concerns, and he just snubbed people. Just, y'all talking nonsense. There's no merit in what y'all are saying. But you can point out that now. Even outside of the kind of extreme positions that they're taking, how do you explain that? Under what circumstances would that make any sense at all?
Yeah. A judge and jury, $50,000 in 5 years. For a magistrate, $70,000 and 7 years. So
in other words, send them on. Sorry, it's just ridiculous.
You see, the problem here is that
bill? Did he read the bill in its entirety?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Anybody reading that and understands the difference between a summary, conviction and whatever would know the levels at which those decisions are taken and those penalties imposed. So he read it. And that is okay. What does that? Okay, I am assuming he read it. What does that say?
It says that he is shoddy. Look, I have never been to law school.
But you know more law than a lot of lawyers, though.
But I've never been to law school. But that's not necessarily true, because I used to work for the Attorney General, and one day he sent me the let's take the bar book, and so
you went to law school.
So I went to law school, but he qualified, he certified, and these things should not pass him. And summary conviction, summary means before a magistrate. Now you're going to give a magistrate more authority to levy a fine and impose a sentence than a judge and jury. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, that alone should have sent it to the select committee.
No, send it back to the Attorney General. Tell him read the bill. There's an error in here. Please find it. That's what I have to go back, read it, and see if you can find something that I have a problem with.
I'll give you a joke, right? I don't do it anymore, so I can tell you about it. Once I used to buy US and keep it, just in case I have to travel. And one day, somebody broke in my house, and they took up a lot of baubles, but they didn't go into any of my books. Because I used to keep my US in my books, and she put it in my bookshelf. When I went and picked up my book, all of my $3,000 dropped on the ground. So the fellas are interested in the books. So when you want to hide things from the marshal, you just put it in the book.
Caswell, you're something else. I say, sorry guys, I dropped out for a while and the computer wouldn't start back, but I'm a fighter. I'm here.
That's all right.
I'm back, and I knew you guys would keep it going. But there was a question, and it's a question from me as well. And I see Kimar is here. We had gotten a word that he was on the road. I know he was out doing a lot of research today. So I know that he was busy out there, but he's here because they're going to kill me. Where is Kimar tonight? I'm waiting. I have him hiding somewhere. Well, he's here. He's grabbing something to eat, I can see, and he's going to come on very, very soon when he's settled. But there's a question to the two ex-senators. Someone is asking, now that Mr. Thorne has crossed the floor, will there be senators who are going to basically lose their jobs? Will two senators, or could he say, I'll keep those senators?
He has the power to make any decision that he wants to make. He can say, I want to keep those two senators and make them opposition senators. He can go and get somebody else. But he now has the right to appoint two senators. So the president now has to decide which two senators she will send off. To make it easy for her, she might say, when I appointed my 7, but because there was no leader opposition, the Constitution allows me to appoint 2 more for the leader opposition, and they can take out those 2, and that's it. But the president is not bound by that. She could say, look, I have been watching the people in the Senate, and I'm impressed with Christina Hines. So I don't want she's gonna be, so I can take out John Rogers. Kind of impressed by he. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. She can do that. But I'm speaking like I was the president because that's what we would do. You know, and
senators that are
Charleston Brathwaite and Senators Brathwaite and Hines, Charleston Brathwaite and Dr. Christina Hines. Dr. Hines is a good person to be there debating them. But we've had some other people in there that have not really reported for work. Mind you, they were there, but they didn't report for work. So the president has in her discretion now to decide which two. And she could take out any two. Not necessarily the two that she appointed because there was no leader of the opposition. So it is in her hands. And you see, the thing with the president, and so far I can say this, I have not seen her behaving in a political manner so far. She has stayed above politics in her decisions. So she's not going to appoint a them. She's not going to appoint a B. She's going to appoint somebody who, in her discretion, can do the job. And that is why finding so far about Sandra Mason. She has, you can't have a hint of political bias in what she does. So I don't want it to remain like that. And so I ain't got no problem with that. I prefer it to. So when she didn't appoint me, I said, but I the real opposition mind. Also, they would say she referred to me opposition. So I had no difficulty with that because it is her discretion. You know, and then she put Crystal there too, who was a fine young woman. And I think, well, you know, but if they can pick one, they told me she really picked Crystal. So that was my position anyhow. And then they picked two. It would look as though she was favoring Adderley. So she did what I think, but this now is going to be another decision that she has to make, and it's going to test, you know, make sure that to keep her impartiality and her independence, because so far, as I said, there is nothing to suggest from the way Sandra Mason has been doing her business that she is, you couldn't even tell that she was appointed by the Dems, you know, because it didn't, but like, for instance, under other administrations, when the Governor General, who was biased toward a particular political party, his independent senators usually would be people coming from the party that he belonged to. But I didn't see this happening in Sandra and Sandra Mason's case, you know. So I take off my hat to her in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. So there are two senators, and well, it could be possibly Charleston Brathwaite or Christina Hines.
But it's not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily have to be them. But it could. It is. But those were the last two that she picked. That should have been picked by the leader of opposition. So the Constitution provides that if there's no leader of opposition, the president will carry the functions like naming people that he would have done. So right. she found herself in that position where she then had to appoint the two because, you know, the Prime Minister came up with another one of her harebrained schemes saying that she can get the Dems 2 seats. She can't get nobody in the 2 seats.
Okay, so that was another situation where she, like with the Deputy Speaker, where she did not have the authority to do it. Is that it?
Exactly. It is the same situation as tonight. She does not have the authority to send anything to a committee in the Senate because she's not a senator. If she was a senator, she couldn't be a prime minister because the prime minister must come from the lower house. So what she should really have done is to say to her leader of government business in the Senate, I want you to track this thing through. And don't make that announcement because it looks as though she is chief cook, bottle washer, and eating all the food too. You know, she just has to learn.
I'm asking the question, and I know I'm cutting you off because I want to understand, and I want the people at home to understand. Are we saying that is a situation? Do you really think, Ms. McLean? Let me ask you that the Prime Minister just does not know how the whole system works, or it is that she knows it and she is choosing to do what she wants?
No, I think she knows. And I believe she might have had a discussion with whoever's leading government business. But as with everything else, rather than wait until she makes the announcement, my understanding was that, well, I saw a meeting previously advertised um, at that particular branch, and she was not part of it from what I saw. Somebody sent to me earlier. And so I guess with all that has transpired, she felt that she needed to go there and say something. But as Caswell pointed out, procedurally, there are ways to do things. And and the Prime Minister should let the process work as it is intended to work. But so I don't think it's a case of ignorance of process. I think it is that she can't help herself doing things the way she does them, and that is unfortunate. Go back to when you saw the press briefings and so on during the period of COVID. You had a czar, you had this body, you had the next person, you had the minister, you had ministry officials, but then the Prime Minister felt on multiple occasions that she had to come and say something in the normal run of those things. And so I think, and the other thing, I mean, I think that they've developed in this administration, I don't know if it is instructions or what, but I have noted for the last several years since they've been in office that a minister cannot speak to his or her portfolio or matters without having to attribute something to the Prime Minister. And I'm always asking myself, is this the Prime Minister's work? Is this the Prime Minister's decision? Or is this a decision of the government based on sound analysis and so on within a particular ministry? You've given a minister a job to do. Let them do it. You have a Senate with a leader of government business, and the Senate, as is the case in the House, operates on a set of standing orders. Let that process work. So I don't think there's a question of not knowing. It is a style, but it is a style from my perspective as somebody in management that is counterproductive.
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
Okay, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on because I've never met her. Just what kind of, why would she do that if you have the law, But Kimar, good evening. It's 9:22, and you almost let the people start to stone me through the internet here, through YouTube and Facebook. Where is Kimar? Like, listen, wait, you think I have him hiding here or what? Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Hey, good evening to you, Marcia. Good evening to Maxine, Caswell, and good evening to the members of the loyal opposition. Very, very, very happy to be here. Marcia should have told them that we were actually out together today.
Yes, we were out together today, and we were up in St. John. We were there early, early morning and early afternoon, planning the big MOTORCADE and Roadside Parliament that's going to be up in St. John. Are you excited about
Marcia,
that?
I hope I'm not letting any secrets out the bike, but
Oh,
yesterday after the march, a group of people from St. John cornered me and tried to convince me to get Kimar to run for St. John, yeah? So the people asking for him.
Well, let me declare my hand and say that we were up there since last week praying, and I said to Dave, Dave, I think we need to do the movie. This is the first place apart from Bridgetown. We are with Miss McLean, we're in Independence Square. And I said to him after praying right there, I said, we should do the movie down here and do a roadside parliament. Instead of going up to the Pine, let's go here instead. And we said, let's call Mr. Franklin on it and do a change. So it had nothing to do with what those people in St. John want. Okay, we just going up there and doing our thing, right? But it was good to see everybody, and I will say that is what I was hearing from the people. They were very happy to see him, and so on up there today. But but seriously though, we're doing this motorcade. The purpose of it is education. We're gonna go from always can't remember. Help me, Kimar.
Baxter's Road,
Yeah,
Westbourne Plaza.
Westbourne Plaza, Baxter's Road, and Westbury Road. I always get it mixed up there. And that's where we had our first roadside parliament, Kimar. And so what we said, we're going to leave there at 3 o'clock, and with all the cars, and go throughout the neighborhoods and keep educating as we go. We're driving, but we're talking to the people and telling them about this cyber bill, that they want to shut us up and everything else. We're going to educate the people as we move along, but we are going to be on the road, and then we go up to we're going to go up to the center there. Can you tell us more about that?
Gall Hill. Gall
The
Hill
Gall
Community
Hill.
Center.
Gall Hill, yes, Gall Hill. What's happening up at Gall Hill, Kimar?
Well, we made some initial plans, but I don't want to put it out because we're not concrete as yet. But you're gonna have a whole family day, a whole family evening, jumping tank for the kids, popcorn, fish cakes, and so we want all of the families to come out. You may have to petition to dance, for us to entertain us. So if you have dancing skills, talents, anything, just go ahead and sign up and come and entertain the people of St. John and with the Barbados, because I believe you'll be streaming on the internet. So we will have the entire Barbados and the diaspora tuned in to see what is happening in Barrow's constituency of St. John.
Yes.
So,
go ahead.
So I was just saying, no place better to host the Barrow movie than right in Barrow's home of St. John, right at Gall Hill of the parish. So I'm very happy to be associated with that. And I want to urge all persons who love our borough, I love Barbados, to come to Gall Hill St. John next week.
Marcia, you have to remind them that filming of the movie, a lot of it, as far as I can remember, you were in St. John. So you're not going there for the first time. You're taking back to the people of St. John the end product of the work that you did in St. John.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Ms. McLean, for reminding me of that we filmed quite a bit of the movie. Actually, most of the reenactments were filmed in St. John. And as we were driving through today, we were remembering, we were at this place and we stopped here, and we were remembering everything that we did in St. John. So it's a fitting place to go. And we decided, Ms. McLean, nothing partisan, no politics. We just wanted to take the movie around for education, and that's what we're doing. Our roadside parliament, Mr. Franklin, has always been about education, and that's what we're continuing to do in St. John, and I'm excited about it. The lady, there's a lady who lives nearby, and I'm told she does the best fish cakes. And I spoke to her on the phone today, Miss McLean, and she told me she's gonna be making some fish cakes for us in St. John. So I'm looking forward to it. But Kimar, you haven't been on. Can you weigh in on this issue with this development that has happened with Ralph Thorne? There are people who are saying that they think that, they're asking the question, is he going to join an existing party, or is he going to form a new party? Some say he's going to go with the Deeves, he's going to go with Joseph Atherley, he's going to remain independent. At this point, nobody knows, but what are your thoughts?
Before you do that, you just said that if people got dancing skills, well, I'm not calling any names, but we got dancing skills right on the screen.
Yes, Kimar.
They're talking about you, not me.
Yes, Kimar was one of those who said, wait, Marcia, you didn't see Miss McLean? I said, no. I said, you didn't see. He said, yes. I said, you sure you see me, Miss McLean?
on camera.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of dancing down there. Go ahead, Kimar. Kimar, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I was very, very, very happy to see Miss McLean on the march up front. You know, she was even heckling Caswell in a very good way, right? So I was very happy to see that. About Mr. Thorne, I've never hid the fact of my admiration for Ralph Thorne. We said it on the show constantly, and I've said that if Ralph Thorne had to cross the floor, that I would support him at the drop of a hat, and that offer still stands. I think Mr. Thorne, and listening to his speeches on the floor of Parliament, I never got the idea that he was partisan. I always got the idea that he wanted what was best for Barbados, and he maybe wanted his colleagues to walk the righteous road, but however they didn't. Eventually, when you're sitting amongst the wicked, if you're a kind of pure-hearted person, eventually something will have to give, right? And something gave and he walked. Now, what's interesting about the Thorne situation, and I can relate this back to Joseph Ashley as well, a lot of people in Barbados believe once you cross the floor, you cross to the DLP. Or if the Dems are in power, if you cross the floor, you cross to the Bs. Because persons in Barbados believe that there's the BLP and the DLP, one government and one opposition. They don't understand how Parliament functions in totality to know that Mr. Thorne is not a member of the Democratic Labour Party, and Mr. Thorne is not associated with the DLP. He's an independent member, right? Yes, he crossed the floor, but he didn't cross the floor to go to the Dems. He's an independent member for Christchurch South, right? He would then have to apply to the Democratic Labour Party for membership if he so wishes to do so, or he has the option of forming his own political organization, right? So I just wanted to say that based off some conversations that I was hearing earlier, and it was a lot of people really don't understand how Parliament functions, or it works, or politics in totality, to know that the DLP has no seats, so there's no crossing the floor to the DLP, and they have no seats, right? Mr. Thorne has the power now to appoint 2 senators. Let me just say that I volunteer Caswell Franklin to be back in the Senate, because it is my belief that he was one of the leading focus points on getting us an early general election last time, because they wanted to get him out of Parliament. They wanted to get him out of the Senate, and they called that election early and forced the hand. I think that they would out Mr. Ahli and Caswell was out. But no, right? My belief is that Mr. Thorne will do excellent with a man like Caswell Franklin to his side, because, and I say that right now, Mr. Thorne needs to weigh all of his options. And I'm speaking as a citizen of Barbados, not any member, any party, right? Well, the DLP would offer Mr. Thorne a mass-based organization to support him. That is fine, right? And we would encourage him to do so if he sees it fit to gain his strength, right? There are other options for him to explore as well, right? But the choice has to be what is best for Barbados and what is best for him in pursuing that goal, right? So you just don't want to make any ad hoc choices just because the Senate is some place that needs eyes. It needs competent people who could follow the bills coming through, because I heard you guys speaking earlier about the fact that the cybercrime bill is now in the Senate, right? And y'all don't know who the leader of government business is, but the leader of government business is Lisa Cummings, right? And the Prime Minister is saying that the cybercrime bill will go to a parliamentary committee. So I think we should clap for ourselves for that one. right? Because this is twice now. But we did it more than once, but on a grand scale, this is twice now in 2 weeks that the government walked back from the pressure put on by this though, right? So they're feeling the pressure, and we had one of the most successful and biggest marches in Barbados for quite some time without the help of a political organization, right? So to have that level of mobilization, grassroots, natural mobilization is excellent, and it is what the people want. So my message to Mr. Turn would be, give the people what they want, because politics in this day and age has changed. And I am being very serious here. The people of Barbados no longer have a care for the Barbados Labour Party at that, and they no longer really care for the Democratic Labour Party at that. People are interested in who can represent them, who's the best man or the best woman for the constituency. It's not about party. So if Miss McLean is the best person to represent St. Michael Northwest, let us pick Miss McLean, not because she's on the DLP or BLP. She's the best person who has offered representations to the constituency. So we pick Miss McLean, right? That is real politics. It's turned for me. I think that we are at the end of partisan representation. Not saying that parties will cease to exist, they will exist. But I think as it relates to the selection of persons who will represent constituencies, much like what is happening with St. John and the people of St. John requesting me to come there to see about representation, that call can come for anyone who represents the people genuinely to come to any constituency in Barbados. Right? So I hope Mr. Thorne takes a cue from that, right? And to give the people what they want, because he is a very fair and balanced person from what I observe in his speeches and even how he interacts. And as long as he gives the people what they want, I don't see him going wrong with this thing at all, because right now, it is my belief that the government is already over the cliff. The Barbados is already over the cliff, and we are in the winding down stages of that administration. And I would say, let's give ourselves as a collective a round of applause for turning the temperature in Barbados to the right speed. Right? We turned it to the right speed. And what is sad, but not really sad, but what is empowering about the situation is that traditionally representation came from political parties. That was the job of a political party, to mobilize the masses, right? We were not seeing that level of mobilization happening from any group outside of the government. But with the help of Marcia Weeks, Caswell Franklin, Maxine McLean, although me and Maxine McLean are members of the Democratic Labour Party, we lent our skills genuinely to assist the Marcia Weeks Show, which is not a political organization, right? And we need more. We need more of those type of people coming forward to represent, other than persons coming with a hardline position that, oh, I'm a B and oh, I'm a D, and that is over. And like I said, this is all positive, and this is all in a good light. That when Mr. Turn sitting where he's at, if he does the correct thing, right, he will go down in the history books of Barbados, much like how El Barrow did, right? Because El Barrow left the Barbados Labour Party when things weren't going right, and he went over to St. John and he ran and he formed the Democratic Labour Party along with some others, right? And he went on to do great things for Barbados. But most importantly, Mr. Barrow always, but I say always, but he gave the people what they wanted, right? He stuck with the people. He was on the ground with the people. He didn't pretend that he was aloof and above it. and the people of this country gave Mr. Barrow the full let to do what he had to develop this country. And today and next week, we could be headed to St. John with a stellar documentary, Marcia, that you prepared. Top class documentary, world class documentary, to be watching and paying respects to Mr. Barrow right in the constituency, because he did not originate from St. John. First, he was from St. Lucie, if I have my history correct, and he was the member of parliament for St. George. Right? And he went over to a totally foreign constituency and then went on to do great things for Barbados. So I'm saying to Mr. Tarn, this is your moment in time. And if you do the right things, Mr. Tarn, nothing can stop the people of Barbados from taking you wherever you need to go. But in light of what is happening, and as long as you keep with the standards set by people like Mr. Franklin, honesty and integrity, and offering, and I've seen it, Marcia, he represented the issue over at with the marina in St. Lawrence when he stepped in and he represented there. And I saw a very fair and balanced man. Right? We saw Mr. Torrance step up to represent his constituency, although he was being sabotaged internally. I know we're hearing that Chantal Monroe is canvassing his constituency. Right? But he stuck with the people of Christchurch stuff. And as Rose said yesterday, we're asking the people of Christchurch South to stand by your man, stand by Mr. Turn, because Mr. Turn is, you will say, a man who's seen the light, and we need to back him. I also saw, Marcia, a request sent out. I saw a request sent out, and I know we discussed this, but I saw a request sent out that all patriotic Barbadians should gather at the Parliament of this country come Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. to take Mr. Turn on his first speech to Parliament, to take him in with a big wave to show, and I call them the opposition now because we're the government, to show the opposition that Mr. Turn has island-wide support in this country, and he will not be alone. And if they think that because he's in there alone, that they could try to railroad him like how they railroad Joseph Ashley, they have another thing coming.
Marcia, I want to say this, and I really thank Kimar for saying that. And whatever Mr. Thorne decides, whoever he chooses as his two senators, I promise publicly, especially given the way that this government brings legislation, to take time for every piece of legislation that they bring, to research it and share information with him. I say that. I sent the message to him, but through my little brother who went to school with him. I sent the message to somebody else, and I'm sending the message publicly now, because at the end of the day, as I am doing here, it is about looking after the interests of Barbadians. And I know how the persons in this administration behave and how they will try to make it difficult. I am a retiree, and I have a lot of flexibility on my
That
hand.
can still move.
I was thinking, somebody's saying this is a good idea because there are lots of people who are retirees, and a lot of people, you remember when we had those, Himar, I tell you must be a prophet. You remember the other day you were saying that we need to go back to the Saturday sessions, right? Where what we did, we had a group doing education and a group and economics and different parts of government. And we need to go back to that. And if we really care about the government, really what, as Miss McLean took a leaf out of her book, and that's what she's been doing and what Caswell has been doing, and yourself, Kimar, in providing that information for us as a people and as a nation. And we have to understand, we are going to continue what we're doing. That's not going to change. We're not putting our hopes in this one man, Mr. Doyle. What we're saying is that we're going to support. We're going to support. We're going to give him the information. and we're going to hold Mr. Thorne accountable as well. We're going to hold Mr. Thorne accountable, but we're going to give him the information. We're going to hold his hand because he cannot do it alone by himself there. Okay? So we are going to support, as we have been doing on the show. We support each other, and we're going to provide that information. And what we want, I know people are putting up names of different people on here to be senators and so on. We just want to say that, as somebody wrote, Miss McLean, that, Mr. Thorne is going to choose, and Kimar just said it, what is the best thing for the country and for himself, where he's the vision that he has and so on. And we will support whatever decision Mr. Thorne has made. We will support that decision. No, we're not pushing anything. It's a love for country. At the end of the day, Kimar said it well. We're talking about love for country. Yes?
Marcia, one of the things in response to the issue that Kimar had raised about those Saturday sessions, one of them can be because if you look at the papers, the outstanding bills that are there, I mean, one of those sessions from time to time, we can actually have discussions of the legislation to see the extent to which you might have something like this cyber crime bill coming, so that people understand what rather than after you've heard a debate in Parliament, and that we can actually look to see what those are, because he obviously will have to respond to the various pieces of legislation, which can be about anything, anytime. So I think that might be one of the activities that people can undertake. It allows us to know what the legislation is about as well, and better inform ourselves, but also to get reactions early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maxine, one thing though, we gotta be careful. We have to force this government to behave, because what you're proposing, I completely agree with it, but what you're proposing is that when these things get on the order paper, they're passed. Like a blink in the eye, they don't do anything correctly. So you would say, well, we're going to be sending the order paper to come for Tuesday. So we come here Sunday night and we say it's on the order paper and we can discuss it and it get passed in all its stages on Wednesday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday next day in the Senate, sometimes you don't even know it there until you get to the Senate. And that is unfortunate, because government is not about mere motley's whims and fancies. It is a process that has been working for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And it is we call it the Westminster system. This is how it is done. But she has made it the motley system. The paper is called the Mockley system. The mock. She ignores all the conventions, everything that we hold dear. And if you don't stand for something, people say, and that might sound cliches and thing, but sometimes it's cliche will work. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. And this is what's happening in Barbados. No, we're not standing up for anything. And you see now what happens with this march. As soon as we stand up and people come out and start to stand up, look what happened. They pull it back. So the people should have been coming out all along, because if the people had come up with this national insurance thing, we would not be in the mess with the national insurance as it is now, and they won't be able to take the national insurance money and invest it where they want to invest it without telling people. Doing it in secret now. So we need the government to follow the rules and don't suspend them at every whim. Because even when there's a suspension of the rules, you're supposed to write the speaker or the president and say, well, we're going to do something and we want permission to suspend the thing. But they don't do that. They just come and suspend it along. So they don't even follow the rules. They break every one, and they just do what they like. No. We did not elect in Barbados a dictator. We did not elect any totalitarian regime. We elected a government that should govern in accordance with the system we inherited from England that they call the Westminster system. And until such time as we don't want that anymore, then we will have a discussion and we will move to change it. But you don't change it today and then come back and do it tomorrow, like how this government is operating. These people are backward. You know, they don't conform to any acceptable way of doing things. They just do things the Mockley way or the Mockley way.
Yeah.
I'm just reading this thing here about accountability, and I've said it multiple times, but I can say it again. It concerns me whenever I see clips of debates in the House, not the Senate generally, and I guess that's because of the composition. But on multiple occasions, if there are 15 people there, which is half the number, we are lucky. I saw clips from last week and so, and every time you look, there's just a handful of people. So in addition to the absence of the persons, or reflecting that is the absence of their voices. How many times do you hear a cross section of MPs speaking on a bill? You may hear 3 or 4, and then you don't hear. I mean, yes, there's no opposition. In fact, because as far as I'm concerned, because there's no opposition, I think it is really important that members of parliament demonstrate to their constituents in the first instance, because don't fool yourself, if they want to run again, they want the support of the constituents, but to the public generally, that they are taking seriously the matters that are before the parliament. So let us hear your thoughts. Let us hear why you support it, because we know it will get passed because of numbers, but tell us why. Tell us what impact it will have on your constituents. Tell us what are maybe some of the challenges that we face. Analyze the thing and educate Barbados. I mean, I keep hearing the word here, educate. And Kimar said it just now in terms of people's ignorance about how the system works. But I think following on that, of course, because you don't even understand how that works, you probably have less information on what it is that the people do in there, and consequently, what impact is it going to have on you. So I hope that in all of this, and I trust the Prime Minister can impress on her colleagues, get up, do some homework, come and speak to and don't just talk for the sake of talking. Show us something about it that you know that you are taking to heart, that you are concerned. You know, I really, it concerns me, because I know the effort, and Caswell would have been there, the effort that I put into researching matters, and I've said it before. Basically, for the 10 years that I was in Parliament, I had a personal assistant for the first 5 years, but the bulk of the research I did, because it was for me to, I mean, she monitored the proceedings in the House of Assembly and so on, and would have summarized things to me. But in terms of how I responded to bills, how I debated things, that was the work I did. And it took work. And I know my colleagues did that, but you know, but then again, I remember one person on the other side asking one of my colleagues what were the perks of the Senate. And my response to her was, tell the person hard work, because that's all it is about. If you come in here, you come here to do some hard work. I mean, I will say this. I know people talk about sorry, but the ordinary senator gets an allowance. I mean, you know, people are paid all kinds of positions as consultants of all kinds of strange things now. And if you see the kind of work that Caswell put in, I mean, Caswell probably had a little more than, the way they call that, a little more than tax, but I mean, gasoline and whatever else.
$1,400 a month.
And then you have some consultants out there. I'm not sure whether they got some of those projects I would get to talk about, very futuristic in nature, people getting $6,000 a month. And nobody can tell me what they were doing for it, you know. So when you put those comparisons in place, but I think that when you take on these things, you have to take on the work that goes with it, you know.
Yeah. You know, people are just talking about how they've been educated. I know that I have been. I learned a lot, Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin was on here, and then Mr. McLean came. You know, Kimar, we had an educational session tonight. I know you have a whole lot to tell me of what you found out today. We will chat. We will chat. But you know, it is altogether a very wonderful opportunity, I have to say, to have these ex-senators on here, Kimar, to be able to, you know, just educate the public. Most of us, we don't know. We just don't know how it works, you know. I see, Kimar, you said something here, man. You put me in trouble. Some people asking if we're doing another move. You know, because we were wondering if we should keep it on the hush hush. But anyway,
Yeah,
um,
but I was thinking that, but this thing has already been out there. But I got a suggestion from a I saw it in a chat. It's a chat
oh,
that I was in, and
okay.
independent of us, people are already planning to come down with the lounge chairs and t-shirts and placards shouting Ralph Turn, Ralph Turn.
Okay, so all right,
So we
all
be
right,
joining, we be joining the
okay,
club.
so all right, no problem because we don't, you know, so I guess Mr. Franklin, we'll just because he's already said it, you know, you know, and Mr. Thorne, if you're listening, listen, we're a pressure group, but listen, we want you to make up your mind on what you want to do, in anything that you have to do, but we are Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, because people here asking Tuesday morning if it's just a suggestion or it's going to happen. If you are available, 9:30, 9:30, 9:30, we are going down. We are all, this gentleman, he's not standing alone. Of course, we're going to hold you accountable, Mr. Thorne, if you're watching. We're going to hear your name on the show.
Now, one of the things that I was worried about to see is that if we had by announcing it, Megan here, and Megan called her constituency group and said, "I want 20 people from each constituency branch to come down there and hug at me." You know, that like I telling you, I know what you're talking about. I know the woman. you know, So that's why I wanted to keep it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Down,
yeah, but the problem with that as well is that the information was put in certain chats belonging to
Yeah.
certain political parties, and there are so many moles. There are so many moles that take the information and carry it back to the issue was gonna hear anyway,
Yeah,
right?
I know about those moles because I recently had a meeting with one of my you know, I have meetings on with my members on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. So we had a meeting and we planned a certain action. And next thing you know, I'm getting correspondence from the department. I've been getting correspondence from them since October. And they refer to my letter dated October because we know have certain plans to make. And then we get all these letters from them making all these kind of want to talk to me now. The problem is that you'll always have those moles. So there's no way to get around it because some people, I always tell people, the dog that bring a bone will carry on. So
Sorry.
they
Yeah.
have to have a little bit more pride in themselves and stop doing this yard foolish kind of behavior. You can't come in a group and then sit down and decide, well, look, I'm going to sell out. Because I want to get. And the thing is, those people who do it, they're never respected by anybody. The people who they bring the information from or they bring it to, they don't ever get respect because the dog that brings the bone will carry on. So they will not trust you. They will not trust you with any office and they will not trust you with any secrets because you can't keep your mouth shut. And that is the problem that they don't understand. They go there so and make themselves less marketable because
Okay.
they talk too much.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Well, we're closing down tonight. And it's 9:58. I want to remind those, as I said, the cat is out the bag. So those who are able to, welcome to come down in a very peaceful, orderly way to support Mr. Thorne at Parliament. He's the opposition. He's there. We've been crying out for opposition. We are the opposition. If we have somebody, as I said, we're not outside now. We have somebody inside, and we want to know he will have our support. But we're going to hold you accountable, Mr. Thorne, because we love our country, and we want that to be very, very clear to you. Miss McLean or Kimar, any parting words to our wonderful viewers tonight?
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you all for coming out to the march yesterday. I had an excellent time. I thank you all for the numbers were big, right? And the numbers on the show tonight are huge as well. So thank you, members of the loyal opposition. I sorry I got on a little late, but because I had some very damning information to share about the corruption and the collusion in this country, right? I just gave you a little hint. That situation at Poland's St. John should have to cause some people in this country to get locked up, as they say.
Yeah.
Wow. So Monday
Right.
show, we need to be on
And
here.
some boys to
Monday.
get locked up, they will get locked up.
Yeah. But
Yeah. Okay.
everything happens for a reason. So maybe tomorrow,
Tomorrow
we,
we
we,
will
we,
see how it works tomorrow, because this is all Ralph Thorne right now. People want to know what's happening. Miss McLean, what do you want to say to the
I want to say that I hope that Kimar has a chance to present that. It will give Mr. Thorne some work to do, because I heard y'all make some connections the other day, and because I genuinely wanted to know who some people were, and when I hear certain connections, it sends me to dig. So I think that we acknowledge what's happening, but we also have to be able to continue to put information out there, because there is so much. So Kimar, it gives you a chance to further fine tune your contribution, because I there's so much, because a lot of lip service is paid to good governance and all kinds of things, but there's so much happening, so much wastage. And I dare say there's a lot of pork barrel politics. I have had a sight from the inside, and I know that people like to stereotype politicians, but the transparency and good governance has turned to muddy water and total opaqueness. So, Kimar, you have dedicated yourself to doing this kind of work, and I look forward to hearing that, because I hope Mara will say that we compiling a list of all of these things, because the list is getting longer and
longer and longer.
This is now called an encyclopedia.
Yeah. Mr. Franklin, it's 10:02. What do you want to say? To thank you, Miss McLean. What do you want to say to our loyal opposition over? These numbers went up to 14K.
Wow.
Right? Sorry, 1,400.
400. Yes, that's what I thought you meant. But
yeah,
1,400.
1,460 something people, persons were logged on.
Thumbs up, Marcia.
Well, I tell you, what I say, it's everybody on here. It's Kimar and Caswell and yourself and Rose and everything that's happening around what's going on. There's an energy that's coming up from the people, so I don't want them to be calling me to meeting, because I'm not.
If you got a meeting, we all go with you.
Marcia, you're talking about energy. I saw Rose, the energy Rose had, man, and she told me about, she had a pot covering her spoon, man, and she was beating and she was moving, I said, well, she got those two knees and the wrapped down good, I just want to thank everybody who came out. I saw a lot of people who I have not seen before. I was very happy to see them, and let them know that whenever we have a march, they're welcome to come, and they see by their efforts that it isn't you, me, and Kimar, Maxine, and Freddie. It's those people out there that came yesterday that caused this change of heart. Well, change of whatever they use. I don't think it's a heart, but it was the people come out and stand up, and you can see what can happen. Let them go back to the drawing board. This is what we need. This is what our democracy needs. And I thank you all so very much. I was saying, God, I can walk behind that truck if it's only me and Marcy and Kimara, but we can be walking. But yesterday, I felt good because nobody could see us in the crowd, man. There were so many of them, you know. But I saw my sign on the newspaper today. you know, but I always tell this story, that they told me because I wouldn't know about this thing. I always tell people about this that Brenda always tell me about how I keep so much noise. I tell them that the midwife didn't have to slap me. I came up hollering. So they tell me, so I was born that way.
He was screaming from birth.
Yeah.
We
Thank
want to
you.
say good night to everybody, but the people someone asked, and it did cross my mind, we're going to play the anthem just to close off the show. Somebody's asking, he's overseas. So, when you're overseas, you get all, really sentimental, right? So we're getting that set up now to play. We want to thank everybody who contributed. The music was really exceptional. On the truck, the sound system, the placards, those young men who spoke theory, and Timon, and then they were giving up water and serving the people. We had a van there for those who were had health issues. Thank you to all of those who put it together. Lumumba, Bongo, Pastor Apostle Scanterbury, Apostle Breedy, Margaret Breedy, all of them, and you know what, they will be on when we're doing the education and so on. I'm hoping that some of them will be able to come with us on that motorcade that we are going to have, right? So I just want to thank everybody, every donation, the people who donated the water, the drinks, Kathy Weeks, thank Lisa for the poster. That's why I say you touch one person, it's still gonna keep going because it's everybody. I just started waiting on the anthem.
Marcia, we have to also thank CG. She was a trooper, man. She came every day and she was churning out placards and ideas and stuff, and ably assisted by my assistant. She commandeered my assistant. I was so happy. They turned to work really well together, and they produced all those kinds of stuff. You see my muzzle and thing. That was, they did a wonderful job. I have to thank them so much. Yeah, warms my heart, and I do have one, not like some people.
I don't know if the anthem will be ready. So let me just say good night to everybody. We'll look at it for another night. in my eyes again. Good night, Barbados. Good night. See
night.
you tomorrow. Thank you.
Rest well.
Yes. Good night, everybody. Bye bye.
All right. See you. Bye bye.